This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
The difficulty of driving modern Formula One cars was a challenge all its own, but this series always strives to bring regional specialities to its competitors. So out goes the champagne, and in comes the beer and hot dogs. Super late models at a Florida short track is about as far as you can get from the echoing streets of Monza, but it's the sort of thing you have to adapt to if you're going to be a serious threat. Let's see who makes the transition as we get ready to watch the Majors Snowball Derby. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Samuel Ryman and DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Five Flag Speedway has been the home for this annual race since about 1968. Let's head to our track guide to find out a little bit more about it.
Welcome to Five Flags. This half-mile paved oval opened in 1953. Five Flag Speedway takes its name from its proximity to Pensacola, Florida. Pensacola, Florida is known as the City of Five Flags, which references the fact that it is 5 governments that have ruled the city. Five Flags is one of the fastest short tracks in America, thanks in part to its 15 degrees of banking and the wide turns that give the track a nearly circular configuration. You never have a chance to rest at Five Flags with the speeds that you carry and the close quarters that you always find yourself in. Five Flags is also very bumpy. Managing the bumps is one of the keys to victory here. Turn 1 is tricky. You carry a lot of momentum off of turn 4, and you have to try to roll the car down and get down into the corner. And the fastest way around the track is about 4 inches away from that pit wall. Things happen fast at Five Flags, with most of the lap times averaging around the 16-second mark. Fast track, fast cars, amazing action. All of these are what Five Flags is known for, and just the type of racing that you are going to see today. So stay tuned, buckle in, and enjoy the race.
Well, Sam, you've spent a lot of time in this region of the country and seen some short track racing of your own, but what about the super lates here at Five Flags? How is this going to handle?
Yeah, I've never actually made it to this track in person during my time in Florida, but I met a couple of drivers who have raced here, and they're always very excited about the Snowball Derby. This is one of the meccas of short track racing, really. It's a race where if you want to be known in the short track racing world, you want to race here, you want to perform well here, and some of the drivers who have won here have gone on to make big names for themselves in NASCAR and the likes. So this is a very popular event. We got a nice show coming up for you today with 300 laps around this half-mile racetrack, and it's very tricky to drive. First off, because the super late model is a very tricky car on iRacing. It's got a lot more power than it has grip to handle it, and also the way these turns are designed. Sometimes the car wants to spin out on entry, sometimes it wants to spin out on exit, and sometimes other drivers want to spin you out because you're all fighting for the same groove in the corners. Especially with the amount of rubber build-up we've had already pick up in practice today. They are not cleaning the marbles off the track after this practice session, and so that could very well change the dynamic of a race that we're about to watch.
Yeah, it's something that definitely caught us by surprise as we were getting ready for tonight and saw that that would be the case. But before we get to the racing, you can see they're in the middle of the drivers' meeting, so that gives us a chance to go through the various championships in this series, starting off with the pro drivers. This is the big boys that we're watching tonight, and Christian Challenger extended his gap to pretty much everybody behind him, taking the win last time out at Monza. Walker was not there, so he's lost a lot of ground, but Chin, Driscoll, and Warren didn't lose quite as much. We've seen any of these five really be up towards the front all season long. And DJ, we also have the teams championship. Where's that sitting currently?
Well, it's a little bit more of a gap up front for Forge Racing Pro 1. They've got a 94-point advantage over the Kinetic Americas Pro 2 team. Kinetic Americas Pro 1, only about 11 points back. So a good little battle starting to shape up there for P2 in that team's championship. Evolve Sim Sports looking in on the outside with Dog Bear Red closing down on them. So a relatively close battle there for second and fourth, but Forge really starting to exert some pressure here late on in the season.
And Sam, they also have that Legends Championship. It's for the gentlemen that are getting a little bit up there in age. Where is that looking at?
Yeah, say sometimes this track turns someone into a legend in the short track racing world, but that's not necessarily what this page means. But yeah, there you see three of our elder drivers here, quite close in the points. Kevin Hill only 24 markers ahead of Wayne Hutchinson and Brian Barnes. Brian McGreevy also sitting not too far back there in fourth place. However, by the time you get back to Jimbo Pfeiffer with the point that we are in the season right now, that's going to be hard to make 133 points up.
Yeah, he'll have to hope for a lot of bad luck for everybody in front of him. And we're, like you said, getting very late on. Speaking of getting late on, let's head over to our race details here before we go to the track itself. And as we mentioned, it is 300 laps. We're in round 12 right now, and that's in a 14-round season. So you better start making some big inroads if you do want to challenge for the championship. And again, it is the super late model that they will be racing. There is a 40 incident limit. So even though beating and banging is a part of short track racing, you can't do too much of it out here or else you will be disqualified straight away. Now, they also have a fast repair, so a spare car is waiting for them in pit lane if they wind up taking on too much damage. Good news is they have unlimited tire sets out here, so that takes a little bit of that out of the equation. But I'm still curious to see who's going to decide to give up that track position at certain times in order to get a little bit more fresh rubber down. And DJ, they've taken back to the track once again, trying to get some more practice in, but that practice won't help them later in the race. You can see it's already getting quite late in the day with this being set in December, as it traditionally is in the real world. So that sun is going to be below the horizon pretty soon.
Yeah, it is, and it's certainly going to cool down this track a bit. Drivers are going to definitely be scrambling for a little bit of grip later on in the race. Sam talked about how the car sometimes will want to step out on you on entry and exit to the corners. We've seen it trying to do both of those things here in this practice session. So drivers, I think right now, just trying to go out and get into a rhythm. That's such a big part of short track racing, is just getting that down, getting that rhythm down where you feel comfortable around it. And I think a lot of this race for these guys is just going to be about patience. Maybe loiter around in the top 10 and wait until that last 50 laps or so to really get a good feel for the car and make a charge to the front.
Absolutely. And Sam, I see you've got a list pulled together of some previous winners of the real world event. Frankly, you weren't kidding about it being those who made a name for themselves, including one I noticed that is quite frequently on iRacing.
I think a few of these might quite frequently be on iRacing, but yeah.
I am talking about Ty Majeski, though, for what it's worth.
Yeah, so the most recent winner, I believe, of the Snowball Derby back in 2020. Yeah, so I was just taking a look at the list of previous winners here. Kyle Busch, obviously, is one of the bigger names there. Johanna Lon, who, if you've never heard of her before, she is one of the more successful female racing drivers in in the short track oval racing world. Chase Elliott has had a lot of success. He won here in 2011 and 2015. Eric Jones made a huge name for himself, winning it back-to-back in 2012 and 2013. And that's when I was involved doing a bit of PR for NARCA team. So I got to hear his name a couple of times as he worked his way up the ranks. And then obviously we've had John Hunter Nemechek, and Noah Gregson, among other names in more recent years. But I just want to go back to what DJ was saying a moment ago about these, talking about these drivers getting the rhythm here in the final moments of practice. They're going to skip qualifying, by the way. They're going to go straight from practice to the race. They've already qualified. The entire field of 27 cars, I believe, is currently covered by 0.4 of a second, their best laps in practice. Now, maybe that's to be expected because it's a short track, so the times are probably going to be quite close together. But that being said, I think it really emphasizes how important it is to get a rhythm here, especially when it comes with regards to your car setup and that. You don't necessarily, I think, have to have the fastest car to win this race. If I was out there right now, I'd be wanting to try and make sure that I have a setup, I have a car that I'm comfortable with. It's not going to snap out on me on the entry of a turn. It's not going to snap out on me on the exit of a turn. That I can just run comfortably in top 10 for most of a race, and then hopefully luck can go my way, strategy can go my way. Maybe I can make an adjustment during the race to try and make a car a bit faster and be there fighting for the win at the end.
Yeah, having to use those tools both inside the car and in the pit stops to see what you can do with it. Now, we have a charity that will hopefully give a lot of people some great tools in the fight against cancer, because our charity for this round is the New Zealand Cancer Society. Their mission is to reduce the incidence and impact of cancer in New Zealand. They've made a promise to fight for every person, no matter what type of cancer. They are a Treaty of Waitangi-led and equity-focused charity, and you can find out more about them at cancer.org.nz. So big thanks to the majors for once again bringing a great charity forward here. Love what I was reading there on their website about all that they've been trying to do. We just got about 3 more minutes here, and I'm seeing a lot of cars wrecking on the backstretch now. Hopefully they'll get that out of their system. I did hear, even though it was a different race, that the Southern National 300 that they held earlier for the Euro region, which is a very similar race in the late model, did not go all that long. They had, I say, only 13 cautions, but that's probably a good thing. But they finished rather quickly in that race. So maybe that's a good sign here tonight for what the drivers will have in store in the Americas region, which will hopefully have a lot more guys that are more experienced in this style of racing.
Well, we can certainly hope so, Joe, but, obviously those yellow flag periods are a little bit of a hallmark of short track racing around here, and they are going to play into these drivers' hands, not only in terms of strategy. You mentioned the unlimited tire allotment that they do have. That's going to come into it, but also just in terms of those starts and restarts. This is looking like it's going to be a 2-groove track, so more than likely going to be able to run side by side, but the best place to make up position will be at the restarts. So they're going to be looking for those opportunities if they can.
Yeah, we'll have to watch out for that, because honestly, I do anticipate cautions here tonight. I can't imagine. It'd be an incredible feat if they can go through without a single caution. It's not unheard of in the majors in some of their races, but it would be incredibly unusual as we wait for that clock to finish up. Right now, for what it's worth, Sam Harris is our quickest driver in the warm-up session, with Mark Stevenson only 1,000th of a second behind him. I'm a bit surprised that Christian Challoner is not doing better, though. He's only sitting in 5th, unless he's just kind of biding his time and holding his cards close to his chest, if you will, because he's a former pro on the oval side here in iRacing with a black stripe, competing in the Coke Series. So I would think that he would be up at the top right away.
Yeah, I mean, you say he's 5th, but he's only 400ths off of the pole time, and there's an example of well, That's an example of things, I think, kind of just having fun at the end of the session there. But it's also demonstrates what happens if you do get on the loud pedal too quickly out of the corner. The rear end can snap down on you, and then you're fighting the car all the way down towards the next turn. If you have an ill-handling race car around here, you might not necessarily get all the way onto the throttle down the straight, because the turns come up quite quickly. And honestly, I think this is a track where track position is going to be your friend. I mean, tyres will be your friend too, but the problem is, especially with 27 cars starting the race, if you start towards the back or restart towards the back at some point during the race and you do get a long green flag run, the leaders could be coming up to lap you quite quickly.
Yeah, it's a good point. It is only a half mile around here, and tires certainly will become a talking point, I have to imagine, especially if it get those green flag runs, because another thing this track is notorious for is chewing up tires. It's known for having an abrasive surface, so we'll watch and see who's able to manage those the longer they're able to run at full pace. Just about 10 seconds left, and then we're on our way for round 12 of the majors. It's the Snowball Derby here at Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola, Florida. I'm excited for this one because we don't see quite as many of this style of racing in the majors, and it certainly puts the drivers to the test. So as we go through our starting grid here on the pole for this one, it is going to be Dallas Pataska. James Walker will be starting to his outside, as Mark Stevenson will be starting from third. It is Matthew Thunhorst in P4 with Kevin Hill in fifth. Eric Smith starts P6 today. Inside of the next row, it's Travis Warling. Challoner only good enough for eighth out there in qualifying. Andrew Waring starts ninth, and Justin Morton rounds out your top 10, DJ.
In 11th, it's going to be Alexander Russell, followed by Justin Kirby, with Kurt Crum and Chris Tito making up row 7. Ryan McGreevy will start off in 15th, and to his outside, it'll be Trent Brown, with Wayne Hutchinson and Nick Kuhn starting off behind them. And then to round out your top 20, it'll be Ryan Steele and Samuel Harris.
Oh, Samuel Harris, fastest in practice, starting in 20th, but look at the surprise right behind him. Brian Barnes will be starting all the way back in 22nd place. Alongside him is Rob Powers. Ross Banfield and Isaac Snyder will be starting 23rd and 24th, ahead of Jeff Schmier and Jason Wallet. Lynn Kinchell will be starting from the back of the field and hopefully not sticking around there too long, because I'm sure 27th place means that first place won't be too far behind.
Real quick, let's go through some of our onboards that we hope to get to see plenty this race. And I believe Alexander Russell is one of ours. He's starting from the 11th spot on the grid. Well, he's got the 27, but I got the 38 on my screen, so that'll get confusing, I'm sure. Isaac Snyder is also one of our onboards out there. He's starting from much farther back. He is in 24th here at the start of this race. There's his on board. And I believe we have a VR view from Justin Morton as well in the 9 car, starting from 10th. So actually, two of our onboards are right near each other here at the start. That could give us some fun moments if they stick around close to each other for a while. As we get ready to take the green, and Pataska has control of the field. Pace car is off. He goes right away. Green flag is out for the Snowball Derby, and it's a big jump for that 23. Top 5 already getting single file right to the bottom, DJ.
Yes, they are. That low line looking pretty preferred, but Pataska, Walker, Stevenson, Thunhorst, and Hill looking like they're pretty single file, but it's Hill and Warling getting a little spicy. Challoner trying to make a little bit of a move there on the outside. That looks like it is the 32 of Eric Smith getting driven very far up into the marbles. I thought that may have been a little too far for him.
But he's certainly liking that high line early in this race. Warren gets underneath him because of that in the 336. And just behind, Challoner decides to dip down to the bottom side like many of the other competitors have, as we already got a spin. And there's our first caution here on lap 3. Another car spinning behind him. It was originally Mark Stevenson, but Rob Powers also spins in sympathy. Let's see if we can figure out what started this. And I think I think the 53 kind of did this all on his own. There it is right there.
Jason Wallet is apologizing in the chat. Yeah, I think that's a 114 gets into the back of Rob Powers. Maybe Rob was slowing down for the wreck ahead, and the 114 of Jason Wallet wasn't as quick to react.
Yeah, yep, that is exactly what happened. So Powers got a little bit of damage out of that. He's able to keep rolling. He'll start behind Mark Stevenson, but we're already getting racked up pretty soon and should come back around for a restart. Your order of the top 5 right now are Pataska, Walker, Thunhorst, Hill, and Warling.
Yeah, so not a lot of change at the top. Obviously, Eric Smith, the big loser in all of that. But that front row is going to be the exact same. So we'll have to see if James Walker is going to be a little bit more wily here on the start. He got very much caught napping last time by Pataska, and he'll want to remedy that as quick as possible.
You were talking during the first run there about the different lines a couple of the drivers were running. I was keeping an eye on Brian Barnes just because he is such a well-known top running competitor, and he's starting quite far back in the field. He was trying to be very aggressive on the high line. He's only moved up from 22nd to 20th though, so not exactly a big gainer so far. Most of the field, to be honest, is still about where they started.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that we'd have too many able to make that great of inroads in only 3 laps around here. If they do, then they're definitely one to watch out for. And now we have the lights out. So drivers begin to go double file. Pataska will once again look for the restart. Last time, he kicked it off almost immediately. Didn't want to wait around. Will he do much of the same, especially with 2 Forge Racing drivers right behind him here at the start? Pace car should be peeling down into the lane. There it goes. As Walker waits to catch him, and he's not going to be able to do it. Pataska is good on the throttle. Is a bit of a battle back for third. Looks to be Thunhorst with Hill to his outside.
Yeah, but Hill getting a little bit checked up, and I think that's going to give a little bit of opportunity to Travis Warling, who's going to dive it down on the inside, make that low line work pretty well. Smith trying to get a little bit of momentum up on the high side, but not making it work. He is falling back. It's now Eric Smith and Kevin Hill side by side.
Oh, no, they're freight training the 52 right now. Trying his best to be able to get in there, but there is just no room at the end. Now it is Justin Morton managing to sneak beneath him.
Nice onboard view here. You can see just how much dancing around there is. A very bumpy circuit, and of course it's going to change a little bit as the night goes on, and you can see how congested things get right in the turn, especially this early on the run as they're all still bunched together.
Yeah, basically the top 10 are all single file now at this stage, and finally Hill gets down low. Well, first side-by-side battle is this one here between the 27 and then up high Kurt Crum. And the 7 eventually finds his space in there, so Alex Russell is able to get 10th.
Yeah, and Crum was running very, very high there, trying to do a sort of late diamond on the corner and just could not get that car down. But we've got a car in the wall in the back. Oh, and I believe somebody else collected.
That's Brian McGreevy initially.
Yeah, he almost got collected. There were a couple cars maybe who didn't up their fenders as they went by him. It could have been a lot worse. But yeah, he was still kind of in the upper line when his car had came to a rest. But I think we got away without too much major contact here.
Wayne Hutchison in the 17 just has a phenomenal avoidance maneuver. He did make contact, as you mentioned, but just sideswipes him. So I think he'll get away with it. Backs it into the wall, and it starts to come down the banking a little bit. If he would have locked it up, I think he actually would have been okay. And nobody would have hit him, but there you saw the 17 just give a glancing blow.
Now, some of our viewers may wonder, why don't these drivers at the back come in for free repairs if they've gotten involved in one incident early on and, you know, unlimited tires? There's 2 reasons you don't want to do that. First off, all these cars aren't too badly damaged, so you kind of want to save your free repair for if you get involved in a really ugly wreck. But secondly, especially with 27 cars it's still in the race, being this far back in the queue, you do run the risk of coming into the pits right now, even under caution, and losing a lap to the pace car.
Well, one driver that doesn't look like he's going to be losing a lap right now is Ross Banfield. I just went through, and Ross is up 7 positions here. And we've only had, what, about a little less than 10 laps under green? So the 777 is on the move.
Yeah, he certainly is, Joe, and he's kind of snuck in under my radar. I hadn't even noticed that the UDocs Oliver team member had been driving up that far, but certainly taking advantage of chaos in front of him. That's the way you've got to do it here in these super late models. Lights out on the pace track. Big checkup. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Yeah, I just want to make a note, though, that one of the ways that Ross have been able to gain so many positions... Oh, there was a car parked on the apron there, not sure who that was. But he had been racing down low, but now he's got to restart up high. That's not going to help him.
It was Travis Warling. It almost looked like the engine expired or something, but we are able to get back green flag racing in spite of that. And Dallas Pataska is once again off like a shot as Walker slots in behind him. More of the Forge cars try to squabble for position. Thunhorst gets into third. Up high, Justin Morton is caught out as the 32 of Eric Smith is not going to let him low.
And this is having some shades of what we saw at the last short track we were at New Hampshire in the modifieds, with the Forge boys just leading the pack here and running a very, very decisive flock as there's Challoner diving down to the inside of Justin Morton. There you see Justin in that VR headset, just keeping everything nice and steady here at this point.
I'm not sure what's going on with Alexander Russell. The last couple of turns, he's really been out of a racing groove. He's coming into the pits.
Something's not acting right with that car. So yeah, he is going to abandon that. That'll send him at least a couple laps down, unfortunately. In fact, I think other than Travis Warling, he'll be our first car to go a lap down. Pataska still leads, and Walker is in second, Thunhorst in third. Eric Smith did manage to solidify that fourth place. We got a car coming out on the track. That is Travis Warling after he took his spare car, which he practically had to if that was his engine expiring.
Yeah, I'm jumping back to check out to see exactly what happened to Travis. So that's going to be a little bit of a fly in the ointment there for some of the drivers as they come around. But you can see that leading pack all just taking it easy here in this point, being very calm and relaxing.
I can report that Russell's back out there. I wonder if some of these cars or some of these teams maybe made the setups a little too on edge, and we're seeing a few engines go prematurely. I assume that they have the ability to put tape on the front.
Well, they do, but the only two configurations you have are race tape and qualifying tape. It's not like it's a percentage number like it is with other cars, so I don't know why you'd want to put qualifying tape on the car. We didn't qualify in this session.
Could be that maybe they forgot. I don't know. That's something we'll have to try and dig into a little bit later as we watch the 23 enjoy the clean air in front of him and continue to lead the way now on to lap 26 of this 300 lap event. Behind him, Walker's been keeping him honest, though we haven't seen really many moves yet as the 4 gives a little bit of a go on the 53 around the outside. Stevenson's having none of it. He's going to hold steady.
Well, let's not forget that Stevenson, both these drivers are trying to come through the field. Barnes qualified poorly and Stevenson qualified well in third, but was involved in the first caution.
It looks like the 4 going to lose another spot as Ryan Steele goes beneath him and moves into 16th. So we have been seeing some moving. I'm glad to see the give and take out there. Drivers know it's a long race, so they don't have to fight tooth and nail for every position every lap.
No, they don't, but it does seem like the lone line is king around here as of now. They really and truly, all of the drivers that we're seeing getting these passes done, they are just muscling their way to the inside. Ooh, there's a car very up high on that groove, almost up into the marbles, as that is the 13 battling right alongside him.
I think that's Jeff Schmeier. Ooh, and he gets fed out and bumped. He gets turned around along with a couple other cars. That is McGreevy and Lynn Kinchlow. I think those are some of the UDocs cars, if I'm not mistaken.
You better hurry up. The leaders are here on the straight with them, but they check up all steady. ahead of the leader.
So this all started out of turn 4 with the very battle that we were watching, where Schmeier was to the outside of Isaac Snyder. Snyder drifts up a little bit, and Schmeier has to get out of the throttle. Unfortunately, those behind just didn't have time to react. Kinchlow gets into him. McGreevy plows into both of them. And then sneaking by after that, Jason Wallet does a very fine job of picking a hole in the net and swimming through.
Yeah, very good job just keeping that car up high for Wallet, and that'll net him a couple of positions to be able to go up through the field. Looks like Kirby is down pit lane right now, so he's electing to take some tires here. First driver we're really seeing doing that.
And Alexander Russell just got the lucky dog, so he will be back on the lead lap.
Now, the 43 was not involved in that wreck, so that's interesting. I guess this is just our first driver to maybe make a call to see what fresh tires will do, knowing that he won't run out of sets. And a few others are now coming in to get repairs. I see Kinchlow as well as Jeff Schmeier, and looks like Alex Russell also going to join them on the lane.
Yeah, Joe, and as for Kirby coming down, you know, he's been in the back of the field here a little bit, kind of mired in the mid pack. And I have to admit, I like the strategy call a little bit there. Just see if you put yourself a little bit off cycle. Hope the yellows fall your way. With as many yellows as we've been having early on in these first 33 laps, I think he's banking on a few more to come. And just depending on how they fall, he may be able to catch everything right. Find himself back up towards the pointy end of the field come the end of the race.
Jeff Schneider did not take a free repair. I think he was trying to get as much damage as he could repaired the hard way and try and beat the pace car out of the pits. He did not make it.
Oh, no. The 30 has to wait for the whole train to go by, which is still going. Now he's able to go. And he is absolutely going to be a lap down.
I mean, he's lost a battle here, Joe, but he hasn't lost the war. You know, that decision, I'm assuming he still has a free repair left. That decision to not take his free repair yet could end up being very smart if this race turns out to be an ugly one.
Yeah, that's very true. Could still stay with it. The question is now, how does he get that lap back as they go double file and just getting out in front of the field to stay on the lead lap? Alex Russell is going to come back around and join the tail of the train. So they're already edgy to go. You can see them prepping the tires and brakes, trying to get them up to temperature. Pataska waiting for the call, and he's off early. Green flag is out here starting lap 36 of the Snowball Derby. Little look to the inside from Thunhorst, but he's going to have the door shut as around the outside, Christian Challenger finds better grip.
And Joe, he may have had that move done on the back straight, but James Walker ahead of him just kind of blocked him up a little bit. Now it looks like he may have a little bit of an opportunity, but Thunhorst not letting that go quietly, trying to keep his nose right there. Challenger carrying momentum along the high side. We ride on board the top of Christian Challenger's #1 machine.
Not giving up on this as he hangs tough the long way around. Looks like that second lane is working fairly well, at least for a couple people. Others earlier on just drifted back as there was a drift from the 98 himself. He caught it, and the fight isn't over, but he lost some ground.
Top 8 are kind of breaking away from 9th on back car, bottled up by side-by-side battles. Keeping an eye, half an eye on that second pack too as we continue to watch this battle up towards the front.
This is to decide third place. They're losing a couple tenths at a time here to those in front of them, but the 98 is just not willing to give way as the one, our current champion of Christian Challenger, has been fighting him as hard as he can so that he can get to the bottom. If he does give it up at this point, he might get freight train because the 32, as he gets very close to the wall, is back there without an opening.
Yes, he is, but Challenger making that high line work. Every time we think he's got it, though, Thunhorst able to send a move like that down. Whoa, Thunhorst getting a little bit squirrely mid-corner. Is that going to be enough for Challenger to get that full car ahead? It's still not. These two Titans just duking it out for P3.
And both of them have been champions in this series before. We get a caution.
Ryan Steele. There we are. So what was going on, Joe, as we were watching that nice battle for third place, there was a heck of a battle going on for about 9th on the restart, and that had really bottled up the cars from 11th down to 25th, and I think it was only inevitable that eventually something like this was going to happen in that second pack.
That was Alex Russell, actually, that got into the back of him. Just the tiniest of nudges, too. Tells you how hard they're pushing, because that car went around immediately.
Well, it's, I think, a combination of how hard they're pushing and just how unstable these cars are, and a testament to all of the drivers' ability out here to keep everything going in the same direction, as we see a couple of them diving down into the pits there. Looks like Steele and now Rob Powers as well.
And Jeff Schneider should get that lap back.
Yep, Jeff Schmeier should be able to get back around here, but we have some points while we've got the opportunity with our latest caution. So why don't we go through the sportsman points here as the drivers get settled into their positions. And up at the top of them, Ozzie Milwain is leading by only 11 points over Halleck, with Garrick and Haynes tied for that third spot. All of them split, top four, split by only 12 points. So that could easily shift around. Chris Sherburne down in fifth, also not very far behind. They're all racing simultaneously with this, as they have actually 3 total splits. The pros, and then there's 2 sportsmen going on at the same time.
Yeah, it shows you just how much interest and just how much talent there is in the major series, that they've got all of that going on at the same time. Keeping an eye on those pace car lights. I believe they are still on, so we're in store for one more lap of caution.
We definitely want Travis Wallen to get back on the lead lap. Well, I don't know, Rob Powers is a lap down now too, but it shortens the yellows if everyone's on the lead lap.
Yeah, so there's Travis Warling, who is still in last place on the field, 4 laps down from the leaders. Rob Powers, the only other one actually a lap down. Jeff Schmeier, now that he's gotten his back, has just taken a pit stop, so he's feeling a lot better, and it looks like we've gone double file. Lights are out.
Yeah, Schmeier getting more repairs done the hard way.
Well, glad he's able to at least get some of that sheet metal banged into place so he can hopefully keep some speed in it. Like you said, he still hopefully has that that free repair waiting for him should he need it. There goes the pace car. 97 wants to try and pull one over, but he's not going to on Dallas Pataska. And instead, look at this. The restarts of Christian Challoner have been mighty. Last time he was fighting for third, which he did eventually get. This time for second, and this time on the inside, as I think Walker may have brushed the wall outside of 2.
Yeah, he may have a little bit, but Challoner now fully in command of that second place position. Behind him, though, Thunhorst and Smith going a little side by side, with Smith, Thunhorst up to the high side, Smith down to the low side, and behind them, that is the 9 of Justin Morton, looking a little bit interested. They're seeing if they can maybe get by James Walker ahead of them. So a lot of really good action still side by side.
Can tell how much these...
Trouble! Isaac Sider got half-turned, and there's a big wad of cars behind him. This all started with the 13 of Isaac Snyder getting turned into turn 1. He saved it, but it wadded all the cars up behind him, and then they just started running into each other.
Yeah, I see, looks like Justin Kirby involved in it as well. Oh, and you know what? As we see the slow-mo replay on this one, it does look like one of the unique features of this track, the fact that that pit wall extends all the way down into turn 1, kind of didn't help things because, well, there was no place to escape for a lot of cars.
Yeah, very much just a matter of space running out for those drivers there. You can see the sideways clip of that pit wall. Everybody trying to check up. The 13 there doing a good job to at least keep it right. But, oh, there goes Hutchinson around. Everybody spinning. Interesting here out on track in real time, though, Joe. unless I'm crazy, Christian Challoner is in the pits.
I had the same reaction. I squinted at my screen. Why is Christian Challoner in the pit lane? Can't be because of damage. This has to be a tire call.
Yeah, and the problem is track position. I mean, yeah, you do get the advantage of fresher tires, and obviously having fuel in the car, you can go further, but we've seen over the last 2 cautions, the back of a pack is not where you want to be.
He puts himself at risk, but if I know Christian Challoner, he's got a plan here, and he doesn't do anything unless it's calculated. He's not generally a gambler, a very numbers-minded sort of guy. He's an engineer by trade, so I trust that he knows what he's doing, but it's got me baffled.
I have to agree with you, Joe. But as we focus back on our leaders, lights still on that pace car, I'm trying to get into the mind here of James Walker, because at this point, I have got to be so frustrated. Dallas Pataska has just been absolutely dominant on these restarts. Walker has not had an answer for him at all. And so I've really got to be thinking, what can I do to get by this 23 here at this point? Because if this keeps going the way that it does, Pataska is just going to keep running these restarts to perfection. I think the Forge boys may want to have a little bit of communication between them. Thunhorst right behind Walker, one of his teammates. So they may be talking a little bit about how to get this right.
Oh, and Sam, you put out a line of thinking a bit ago that I'm starting to wonder, maybe this is what Challoner's getting at. He's getting off sequence from Pataska. Figures it's easier to get by him if he doesn't have to pass him on track and just do it with a pit stop.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, but I was also thinking, as much as I loved the late Bryce Whitson, he was also an engineer, and that didn't necessarily mean I always agreed with his strategies on iRacing.
Well, they got their own way of thinking as we go green flag racing once again, and it's Dallas Pataska with a big jump. Walker back into second place now that Challoner has pitted, and Thunhorst with a much easier time getting into third. Now it's Morton and Eric Smith who are going to be fighting, but the 32 has a little bit of a slide. He'll get back down in line in fifth.
Yeah, he's going to give up the ghost there, and I think that's the best call for him. Little bit of a scrap there in the back. That is Stevenson and Hill side by side. Behind them, Waring and Yatito going at it as well. So some good double file here.
Yeah, every restart, I know you two guys have got the top covered. I've been watching Mark Stevenson. He's been slowly getting his name towards the front of the field, and as you saw just there, he's not doing it just on the low line like everyone else. He's able to make passes up high.
And that will certainly be handy as time goes on. Things are getting close in the mid-pack, though. I'm seeing Nick Kuhn almost having contact with Alex Russell, and they've also got the 13 of Isaac Snyder in there as well.
Yeah, almost a little bit of a pit maneuver there from those drivers. The 27 having to be very, very careful not to try to make that go 3 wide.
Alex Russell's having a heck of a race right now, full of action. He'll eventually get ahead of Nick Kuhn. So the 19, well, he thought he had a spot. Now he doesn't. That's Len Kinchlow getting underneath.
I wonder what Christian Challoner is thinking behind all this. Is this what he knew he'd be getting into? Right now he's still in 17th position and stuck up high, so nowhere to go if an incident does break out in front of him.
Oh, we almost go 3 wide for a moment there, just in front of him as Ryan Steele and Nick Kuhn continue to battle. Looks like Brian McGreevy down to the low side of that. Number 1, a big loose moment up in front of him, and he is going to dive way up high and barely sneak around as suddenly cars pile into one another. Our first big one of the night, and it nearly collected our championship leader.
And Joe, Christian Challoner missed that by absolute millimeters. I was watching his car. There was a brief moment of hesitation, and then he just put the pedal down, knowing that those cars could slide up the track on him. Great reaction time from our reigning champion.
And Pataska's into the pits. I know we're going to get a replay of a wreck, but Dallas Pataska comes into the pits from the lead.
Yeah, it was Lynn Kinchlow that nearly hit the 1. This would be great to get an onboard of Challoner to see what that wreck looked like. There is his miss, and there's everybody pile in. And many tried to slow up. Unfortunately, it looks like not everybody was able to.
And I really think what caused all of this was Kinchlow just getting loose off of the edge there, making contact and then sliding back up the track. Everybody holding on to the brakes, trying to slow those cars down and not do exactly what they did. But once these big, heavy super lates do get into some momentum, there's no stopping them. We ride on board with Challoner in the replay.
So here it is out of 2. He sees the wreck start to happen, and he stays high immediately. Wow. Oh, by a whisker. Also, Travis Warling did a very good job trying not to get even more caught up in incidents. He slowed up in time behind that wreck, and he is now 3 laps down after that. No, excuse me, 4 laps. Still 4 laps down, I'm sorry.
Look at that for a picture. 1, 2, 3, all on the same team here. That's what you talk about, control of the field. So the fact that Challoner was able to get through that wreck, I mean, he's not out of the woods yet. He's still got, not really quite sure who's leading this race.
Thunhorse, for what it's worth.
Okay. Where was I going with this salt? He's not out of the woods yet because he's still back in 13th place. There could still be a wreck ahead of him. But for what it's worth, from making that pit stop before Pataska made his pit stop, Challoner and Pataska are on very similar strategies now, and Challoner has track position over the 23.
Yeah, which is what we were positing earlier could be his thinking. So there's the 23 out on track down in P17. Yeah, Forge Racing, as we've come to know them, have been a force on the ovals and here in the short tracks. Once again, you mentioned it earlier, we saw them up at the front in the modifieds at New Hampshire, DJ. It seems like they kind of want to do similar and just basically be out there in numbers and not give anybody an opening.
Yeah, and Eric Smith, the only one that's really breaking up that party, is Walker, Thunhorse, Morton, and Stevenson, all belonging to Forge. But we wait here as we're ready to go green.
And we are green. Let's not forget that green group behind them is Evolve SimSport. So those guys also kind of packing together as Forge all go low. The 32 might be hung out to dry unless he can get down to the bottom. The Evolve team's going to try and deny that. Yeah, Eric Smith is going to get freight trained. Now he finds a spot down to the bottom for the 32. He falls to 6th place. Challoner up to 11th now, continuing to pick them off. There you can see him behind the battle between Yatito and Schneider.
And he's going to want to be careful there not to get too involved in it, but he's just going to tuck right up behind Isaac Schneider here, gets a better run off the corner, so he's able to clear Yatito. Now he's going to focus his eyes up on to Isaac Schneider. You can see how much better that car is handling up Christian Challoner. That is partial reasoning of just how good of a driver he is. Swinging it up to the high side now, trying to carry some momentum, maybe looking for a crossover here. No, he's going to stick it high through 3 and 4.
He's making it work so far, but he starts to fall back off the exit of the corner. Well, it was a valiant effort. We'll have to size him up and try again later. Almost looks like Alex Russell's been kind of following him through, too. Russell's up to 11th now. Remember, he was dead last on the field for a moment.
Yeah, and Dallas Pataska's not too far behind these guys either, but quite notably he is behind. So one of the calm starts we've seen up front, and I think the fact that we had a bunch of teammates all together kind of contributed to them all communicating with each other and getting single file quite quickly, but completely different towards the back here where we're seeing lots of side-by-side racing among cars who are not from the same team.
There we got the onboard from Alex Russell, and very kindly let Dallas by. I guess he kind of knew his pace and figured it wasn't worth fighting him too hard here with only 74 laps down.
I don't think Christian's going to do the same thing.
No, definitely not. And he has to check up. Pataska has to check up. Look at that chain reaction down through the order. That started with the 13, just not being as fast as Christian wanted.
Yeah, and that's one of the detriments of running this close in a series like this. You've got to be very careful as we watch Isaac Schneider here. That is the 13 that did have that big checkup. You can see him just leaning in through the corner. Challoner trying to poke his way this way, and that tries to carry a little bit more momentum on the high side. Now looking for a crossover move down into turn 1. Isaac not going to fight him too hard. Christian's going to go and watch Dallas Pataska behind him trying to sneak in as well.
He's gotten underneath. Now he's got to finish the job, though. We've seen a few fight well on the high side. Does look like Schneider is doing a fairly decent job on that, but here comes Dallas Pataska, who's going to grab on the coattails of the number one and follow him through. Now they get up to the Evolve team cars. Sam Harris, the first amongst them in the 42.
Yeah, I was just... Oh, we got spin in turn one. And he's head on into the wall. Oh, that's the guy who saved it earlier. That's the 13 of Isaac Snyder. Oh, boy, that got close there. He had a nice save earlier, not as lucky this time. But I wanted to make a note of Isaac Snyder and his teammate Kurt Crum. I was trying to look back. I think they were the last cars on track on the restart on old tyres, and you could see that they were falling back there on the restart. So I think the old tyres are starting to bite them a little bit. And does he do this on his own?
No. Yeah, that's Russell that gets underneath him. Oh, and just noses it straight into the outside wall. That other car also got hit in the checkup behind. I think that was the 43 that had that contact. And, as we continue to watch this replay, Sam, you were right about those tires. I see a lot of cars in pit lane now.
Yeah, surprisingly, not all of them, though. I think we still have some lead cars out there.
It's James Walker, Matthew Thunhorse, Justin Morton, and Mark Stevenson. Take a guess what the similarity is.
It's all forged, Joe. They're all running a train here, and I've got to say for them, I like this because what they're going to be able to do is this puts Christian Challenger and Dallas Pataska right behind them. But because they're going to be able to run in this 4-car block, their hope here is that they're going to be able to prevent those two leading cars from getting anything done, and they will be able to wait until as late as possible. And by that point, Challenger and Pataska's tires will be worn in.
They've also got them sandwiched. Chris Yatito is the 5th member of Forge here in this race, and he's right behind that pair, so he hasn't stopped either. I see Isaac Snyder's the last one that needs to come down pit lane in the 13, so in spite of multiple incidents, Isaac is sticking it out, acting like he doesn't have an extra set of tires waiting for him. And I think they don't have the lights out yet, so we're going to keep going around another time.
Yeah, surprising call by Isaac if he doesn't come into the pits, to be honest. So yeah, this is going to be a critical restart here for that 3rd row, because Pataska's going to be right up alongside Tralliner. He knows, as you mentioned, that Yatito could play a bit of a strategy role in this for the team from 7th place there on the restart. And I think, we still have 2/3 of a race to go, over 2/3 of a race to go. But I think it would be nice for Pataska to get in front of Tralliner here.
Did you see that the 98 doing some practice starts there, putting the throttle down, trying to feel what the worn tires are like when we get to the green? So all the little details that these guys try and figure out always amazes me that they're able to pay attention to it in the midst of the hecticness of a race like this, which goes green once again. Walker is away. Down low, the one with his fresh tires is a little bit boxed in there. Like you said, the 53 to his high side. And a problem. And unfortunately, one of them is going to get spun. The 97 is up high, and the entire field practically gets caught up.
Oh, that is a kerfluffle if I have ever seen one there, Joe. I'm not sure entirely what happened. It looked like a little bit of a bobble from our leaders, and that just checked the rest of the field up behind them.
It did. It starts with Walker in the 97.
I think old tires happened, but the good news is, although I think we had lots of cars collected in this, everyone could kind of see it happening, and I think, okay, there are some hard hits there, but a lot of that right there looked kind of minor.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see too many high G impacts. And you're right that that car was very loose off the corner with the worn tires. And poor Christian Challenger was trying to avoid them as best he can, but with everybody in front checking up, he turned one around, and that unleashed the chain reaction that unfolded throughout just about the entire field. So holy cow. Are we not having the Forge cars in yet? They're still not pitting.
I'm not sure what the strategy here is at this point, Joe, for them not doing it. There you can see on your screen, that is the 97 coming back out. That's James Walker. He will be a lap down, waiting to see where he will cycle out. But this is just changing the whole complexion of this. With them not opting to take a pit stop here, I don't understand what they're doing. They have unlimited tires at this point.
Your Tito goes a lap down too.
Yeah, both of them came in. I wonder if they got the worst of the damage in that incident. Walker, I think it's being sent to the back of the line. Or is he coming in pit lane? No, he's coming in pit lane. Okay. So maybe he's got a little bit more to bang away at on the sheet metal. Well, that turned around in an absolute heartbeat for Walker, who had been leading for at least a good number of laps at that point, but it's just gone south for him.
Yeah, it certainly has. And now what this is going to do in terms of the order, this will put Challoner up on the high line. So that nice pack of 4 for the Forge Racing team is now whittled down to 3. Challoner will be on the high side, and perhaps most troublingly for them, that's going to put Dallas Pataska right on the low line behind Justin Morton. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. Behind them, Ross Banfield and Nick Kuhn also looking in a bit of a popcorn position for what is sure to be a great battle.
Ooh, wow. That must be quite a bit of damage that needs to be repaired for James Walker, because he's exited out of the car. He can still get back in as we go green, and it is Mark Stevenson who gets to lead the field this time. Thunhorst behind him is on the high side, but he's got a clear bit of track at the bottom if he wants to cut off Morton. Morton is stuck facing off with the 1, and this time they managed to get past turn 2 successfully.
They do indeed, but Challoner not giving up the ghost on Justin Morton, trying to make that number 9's decision not to come in for tires, punish him. But Justin Morton doing a great job. Actually, Challoner looking a little bit squirrely there up on the high line. That's Dallas Pataska coming in behind. Ooh, Challoner almost up into the marbles there. That's going to cost him the position of Pataska.
Dallas is now through, and he's got slightly better tires on top of it. So that's going to be a tough ask from Challoner to try and overtake him. Both of them, though, still have the Forge cars of Morton, Thunhorst, and Stevenson, who have yet to stop in this race. And we're closing in on a third of this race. That is a long time on the same set of tires. We look back behind them at the battle for 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Yeah, going back to the leaders there, I don't think bad tyres will be hurting them too much right now, because they've got clean air. You know, they're a few laps into the restart, but I think on the restarts, their restarts just look a bit disorganized. They probably have a lot more slip on the restarts when they're getting the power down in second gear or whatever they're choosing to restart in, and so that's really where Challoner, I think, has a bit of an advantage on those newer tyres.
Up on the high side, the green 19 is Nick Kuhn. On the bottom, the red 37 is Trent Brown. This is for 9th position, and I think Trent Brown might have it now. He's fully ahead, and now it's a battle between the 19 and the 32 instead. Eric Smith.
Yeah, it is indeed, and Eric Smith is going to start to try to push on that 19, just getting hung out to dry on the high side, and there's that clearance by. That's the 7 of Kurt Crum behind him. Oh, he had a chance to get down there, did Nick Kuhn, but he just didn't want to go for it, and that may lose him another position here. Oh, spinner in front.
That was Brown. I think he got a little help on that one. That was very sudden. Yeah, he did. Eric Smith is going to hit that quarter panel and absolutely dump him.
Tell you what, we're hitting lap 100 here, even after several cautions, and there you can see it got away without too much of an impact. So we're about a third of a way through this race, and it's gone by in 40 minutes, even with a bunch of cautions. That's a nice thing about caution laps here on iRacing. On short tracks, they go by in a hurry. And so this race will be over quicker than we think, even though there's 200 laps to go.
More cars coming down pit lane, either getting repairs or taking some tires, including Christian Challenger, I'm hearing? Yes. Wow, okay.
Yeah, Challenger, Banfield, Kirby, Kuhn, and Brown all look like they're coming down pit lane. So Challenger opting to go again for fresh tires here. Forge Racing teammates of Stevenson, Thunhorst, and Morton up front, they're still not coming in.
So we've got a little bit of time. Let's go through the Sports Teams Championship here. So this is the sort of amateur championship for the teams. And it is Forge Racing who are currently up at the front of that one. Many of the teams actually have their own specific amateur team fighting for the Sector 5 as well. Evolve, Sim Sports, not too far back from them. In fact, from second to fourth, it is extremely tight, with High Class Racing being the last of them. And then the all caps, that's how they've asked it to be, Vengeance Motorsports, way behind back in fifth. So there is your sport team standings here with only 2 rounds left to go after today is over. So, okay, question for both you, DJ, and Sam that came to mind. As the sun continues to go down and the track, I assume, continues to cool, could potentially another reason for Challenger pitting like this be him trying to change tire pressures? Would that help?
That could help his handling a little bit, and that may be what's on his mind. Just trying to dial that car in as much as possible to avoid any problems. He also may have, remember, kind of picked up a little bit of damage potentially on the previous caution. He may have just wanted to get a little bit of that sheet metal banged out.
You also want to be the first driver to make your last pit stop, and with all these caution laps, I wouldn't be surprised if a tank of fuel could get to the end. It could get you to the end here, especially with pit stops.
Yeah, that's a fair point as well. I mean, so many variables to try and take into account here. I'd love to be able to pick his brain after, but for now, we're going to have to go back to racing as the car of Stevenson is able to get ahead, not as quickly this time, over Matthew Thunhorst. And then Justin Morton's trying to follow through, but to his outside, Dallas Pataska, with about 60-lap fresher tires, is currently trying to work his way around the long way.
Yeah, he's trying to make it work.
Oh, we got trouble on the front straight, and we got Isaac Snyder spun in turn 1 again.
Justin Kirby on the front stretch, along with Rob Powers. Oh, and there you see the 13.
I don't think Snyder's pit yet. He must have done at some point.
My screen is showing he has not, actually.
I think he might want to do that now.
Yeah, he has not. Some of these guys acting like they have to pay for the tires and repairs. For what it's worth, there. Yeah, here's the incident on the front stretch. So the 47 of Powers just brushes Kirby, who is slow for some reason. Kirby gets a center punch from Trent Brown. So that's what sends those two off. And then I think it was the checkup in the yellow that caused the incident between Russell and Snyder. There is that.
Alexander Russell just having a rough day around here. The guy cannot seem to catch a break. Oh, just pinned down into the wall, really through no fault of his own. He was just trying to avoid the accident.
Snyder running money for charity here, where he's going to do he gives a bunch of money to charity if he doesn't pit at all this race. I mean, the pit road was open last time around. He's going to keep going.
I don't know. He's still on the lead lap for what it's worth. If the car's running at a decent pace, I guess keep at it. This is some wild stuff. I don't know what Isaac Snyder's car is made of, but need to look into see what kind of magic materials have kept him from needing to try and take that free repair, at least some repairs up to this point. And we're now waiting to get lined back up again. By the way, Challenger, that pit stop doesn't look too bad at this point because he's already back up to 13th.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on him on that last restart, Joe. Looks pretty confident, not really making too many hard pushes. I think he is really looking at this as a long race as well. He should. So he's in good position here. I think he's content to let Dallas Pataska and the Forge Racing team kind of duke this out at the front. And He's just running his own strategy behind him.
Also, a quick note on the championship, because I'm looking through the order and I was realizing, well, James Walker having his problems obviously is advantageous to Challenger because he was the closest person to try and vie for that championship coming in. But Walker's still in pit lane and he's currently 21 laps down, so he might actually be done for the night. Well, Josh Chin isn't here, Steve Driscoll isn't here, and Andrew Waring is the first one that is here. And Andrew Waring, actually, where is Andrew right now? Well, he's in 5th, but he's a long ways back in the points. He's 63 points back from our leaders. We go green once again. So this is going to be another big night for Christian Challenger as long as he can just bring this one home.
That may be a little bit of what he has on his mind, Joe, as they continue to go around here. Forge looking very strong up front. That's the 336 of Andrew Waring starting to look a little bit aggressive, looking to the inside of Dallas Pataska, but we've got a big kerfluffle in the back.
Rob Powers involved in it yet again. Chris Yatito with another moment. This starts off, I believe, with Lynn Kinchlow, actually. The 44 is going to have contact both with Challenger and then with Trent Brown, and then everybody behind, unfortunately, gets collected.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. We still have... Again, the fact that it's a short track means even though some of these impacts are quite... medium impacts, I would say. They're not race-ending, and a lot of these cars can get back out there and keep running on the lead lap. Once they all burn through their 3 repairs, maybe they'll lose a lap or 2, but we still have a lot of drivers in contention. So you're talking about some of these drivers out here racing for the championship, such as Andrew Warren running in 5th right now. If things go downhill for him, he could still come finish all the way back in 25th or so.
Wow. By the way, another car that made contact in that wreck, the 13 of Isaac Snyder again, and he still doesn't come in. If we get a close-up on that car, he actually has a fair bit of damage on the nose. The rest of it actually looks pretty decent. It's just the front of the car that has been hit.
You know how when sports car companies come up with a prototype car or something and take it on the Nürburgring, and they have
I see where you're going.
Yeah, they have the camouflage paint scheme so you can't tell where the bends are in the car. That's what Isaac's done here.
He kind of has. Although it looks like that plus somebody decided to throw a birthday party at the same time, and it's just confetti all over the darn thing. So as we get ready to get going once more, we have still yet to see Stevenson, Thunhorst, and Morton pit. Isaac Snyder, we've already mentioned multiple times. Otherwise, the majority of the drivers, for what it's worth, have only been in once or twice.
Yeah, pit stop's not really playing as big of an issue here as we've thought. And, you know, what I'm interested in is if, God forbid, if something happens to these Forge Racing teammates up front, maybe Pataska is able to get a good start and comes in the middle of them, if that changes their strategy, because I feel like them running as a pack up front, this is helping them negate any of their tire troubles. But if that pack stops being, that could change their strategy a little bit.
All right, we once again have lined up, and credit to these Forge cars. I wonder if things have evened out on the tires compared to our 4th place starter there, Dallas Pataska, as we go green once again because he has not been able to get by. As we ride on board with the 9 here, Justin taking the restart with his teammates. He's the one in front of Dallas Pataska, who's not able to get underneath him, so he slots in behind his teammates. There is Pataska just behind.
And Joe, I think Justin's reactions there, watching his face on the VR, are extremely telling. You saw how much he was glancing to the side. That is him glancing in his rear view mirrors. He is the rear gunner there. His job at that restart was to hold up Dallas Pataska.
Which he's done pretty successfully. Pataska still pulling along the 336 of Andrew Waring in that 5th position, as Matthew Thunhorst just set the fastest lap on the race on tires that have been on that car since lap 119, or since the very first lap of the race. So 120 laps that he has put on them.
Watching, here we are, we picked up a battle on screen here. Christian Challoner has been working at high lane since the restart, and he just used it to pass Kurt Crum for 9th position.
So continuing to work his way through, he certainly feels comfortable, it seems, having to race in the midst of all the action. As we now look at the 37 as well of Trent Brown. This is fighting with Schmeier for 12th spot. Trent's got the inside. He's trying to get his car through. It itself has a fair bit of damage on the left-hand side.
Does indeed, but there you see Brown just trying to make it work. Schmeier up to the high side. Schmeier looking like he's losing a little bit there. And behind him, that is going to be Isaac Snyder, the birthday party boy in that machine, trying to get by as well. He's going to dive it in deep into turn 3. A little bit of momentum carrying back now to Jeff Schmeier, but Isaac Snyder able to hold it out. He's going to be back up in position.
Okay, we finally go single file for much of the fields. I see Wallet and Barnes in a little bit of a side-by-side action, but otherwise everybody has basically trickled in, and we're getting closer to the halfway mark of this race. Lights are already on the track, starting to light things up. Up at the front, things staying close between Thunhorst and Stevenson. This looks to me, though, a bit more like formation flying as we get another caution. Oh, Jason Wallet and a couple cars having an accident after the initial one, unfortunately.
Looked a little bit like the never-ending incident there, Joe, as cars just kind of kept banging doors with each other, the back of those cars that had been involved.
So this starts with Yatito, actually. He is the one that's going to get turned by the 43 of Kirby. And Wallet does a beautiful job going right around the outside of him. Look at that. Nicely done.
I'm hoping Travis Warlin didn't pick up 4X from all the running into each other there and, you know, not get a waiver. Do you get penalties after, or do they get kicked out of a race at 40
It's
incident points?
limit. Yeah, 40 is it.
Yeah. I know 10 crashes is a lot, but at the rate we're going, I think a couple of drivers might hit it.
Oh, it doesn't have to be 10 crashes that you cause. It's just 10 that you get involved with, and I think
it's not even a crash.
Yeah,
if you rear end someone doing green flag running, that can count as a 4X.
On top of hitting the wall, which would be a 2X every time you do that. A spin, or excuse me, an off track is worth 1. And a spin is worth a 2X. So yeah, there's easy ways to hit that 40 incident limit here today. Let's hope we don't see cars disappear into the ether. This time, it is our driver that was on the pole, Dallas Pataska, returning to that familiar position. As he takes the green flag on lap 132, he's going to be followed by Andrew Waring, now up into second. One of the closest drivers who is able to maybe challenge and close in on Christian Challenger after today's race. Behind them, that's a fight for third. Sam Harris around the outside shuts the door on Steele.
Sorry to interrupt, DJ. I'm sure you were going to say the same thing, but that was a horrible restart by Ryan Hill that didn't do Challenger any favors.
You read my mind, Sam. It really checked up Christian there, and now I think Christian's trying to get a little bit of his frustration out and get around Ryan Steele.
Challenger has fresher tires than Steele as well, and he's going to make good use of them. Down to the inside of 3 and 4. Oh, but he can't get the shot off the corner. In fact, has to get out of it, trying not to run into the side of that black and blue number 12. Holding tough here. Steele's making him work hard. Off the corner once again, and then down into these steeply banked turns. The one finally up into 4th place. Steele's not done. He's got Kurt Crum taking a look underneath, but now he can shut the door as well. And behind them, the Forge guys are already coming. Stevenson is the first of them. He's into 7th. Make that 6th right now.
Oh, very opportunistic move there from Mark Stevenson, really just going after the dive, and he's now going to take a look on Ryan Steele down to the inside of turn 3. Those fresh tires, a little bit of a door bang, and they're pushing him up wide.
Oh.
That is Stevenson up.
Oh, Lin control, spinning, takes out another couple cars, and finally the caution flies. Lin's car he's been driving around with a lot of damage on that 44 machine, and I don't think the handling is too well, because he just went into turn 3 and 4 and it got sideways all on his own, and then he tapped a couple cars, looked like they were going to get away with it, but by the time they exited turn 4, it was game over.
Man, he tried to catch that thing about 3 or 4 times. And Wayne Hutchison kind of shot the gap in the end of it. Let's watch the initial incident, but the 17 kind of threaded the needle. Oh, man. I think that was Schmeier, who unfortunately was really just unexpectedly shoved into the outside. And yeah, you saw the orange and black 17 just squeak by.
Nick Kuhn also collected in that as well. So now a couple more shuffles around. Looks like Trent Brown coming into the pits. Justin Kirby again. Schmeier, I think, for a little bit of damage repair, and Lynn Kinchlow as well.
Oh, this restart's lining up for us nicely, Joe. We got Pataska with Challenger right behind him.
Ooh, okay. Well, that is going to be fun. We'll see if Andrew Warren can hold off that one car, but he does have slightly older tires than Christian Challenger. So we got just a couple more views there for a moment of that incident that kicked off this latest yellow. The other thing that occurred to me before we had that yellow is I wonder if part of the reasoning for the Forge guys not wanting to pit is because of all the problems we've been seeing in that mid-pack. They were just trying to keep in that clear air as long as possible, not risking taking tires and getting sent amongst the chaos.
I think it's a very distinct possibility, Joe. Challenger's picked up a couple of dinks along the way as he's made his way back up through the field. It hasn't hurt him too much, but you can only play with fire so many times before you get burned.
I think the thing is, you want to be the first car to make your last pit stop, because we've seen that tires don't seem to be much of a concern except on restarts. If you spin your tires on restarts, it seems to be easier to do with older tires. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see as many pit stops in the second half of this race.
That's a good point. So we've just about hit that halfway point. Actually, 8 more laps, and then we are there. I think we're going to get lights out this time by... We had a couple more drivers in the pits. Warling in there, Kirby as well. I think they're trying to get back out before the pace car comes around. Yeah, and they have already dipped. So here we go. We're going to restart on lap 144. Incredibly, despite the number of cautions, we have 26 of our 27 starters. James Walker, I think, got out of this one way too early. All right, there goes the pace car. Pataska gets on the loud pedal. Green flag is out. And just as I suspected, Christian Challenger immediately gets underneath Andrew Warren. We get a caution right away. That's Hutchison.
And there was a tip in front, too. That was the 42 going around into turn 1 as well, Joe.
Now, this one's going to be a little embarrassing. Wayne Hutchison has spun it on the restart.
Oh, here's a replay of what happened to Samuel. So that was after the wreck had happened, the caution had happened, and a few cars getting collected up front. But yeah, Hutchinson was the original reason for the yellow.
Yeah, no contact there. He spun the rears. Thankfully didn't collect anybody else. Everyone was very heads up on that.
Yeah, and Wayne did make his last stop about 4 laps ago, so maybe just a little bit of colder tires there as opposed to worn tires being the reason for that spin.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
So Challenger, and into the pits comes Warren from 3rd. Challenger will get to restart 2nd here, but I'm not sure he would want that. Sometimes it makes restarts a bit difficult, especially on SimRacing starting second, unless you're racing with a virtual reality headset. And granted, I've never done it, so maybe even if you are racing with a virtual reality headset, it can be a bit difficult in SimRacing to keep an eye on the leader when you're restarting second place.
Well, we've got the opportunity. We have one more slide for our points championships. This is the Legends Sports. Maurice Gamillion is currently leading that by a very narrow margin. Gamble Deloach tied for second, so 3 points between the top three. Roger Shank and Stephen Paulison rounding out the top five, also rather tight together. So those guys have got only 2 rounds to get that one settled out. Well, we still don't have the lights out on the pace car. We got one more to go around.
We do indeed, and this is the highest up we have seen Christian Challoner restart, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. The other thing is that Mark Stevenson starting off in 3rd place, which traditionally has been the better position to be starting as you talked about there, Sam. So we're going to have to see how these two competitors play this out. Kurt Crumb's going to be starting to the outside of that. Thunhorst will be 5th, so maybe a little bit more of Forge teammate working together in the cards for us as we get ready to go green again.
Real quick, I was checking to see who our hardest charger is. It is Isaac Snyder, up from 24th to 8th right now. Close contest between him and Ryan Steele, who's gone from 19th to 5th. But the green flag once again waves for Dallas Pataska. Here comes the Forge racing car of Mark Stevenson down to the inside of our current champion. Christian Challoner tries to get the shot off the corner, and he does, but back down to the inside. The 53 keeps him honest.
Keeps him honest indeed, and keeps him side by side as they cross over the timing and scoring line there to officially mark halfway done in this snowball early. Challoner making it work on the high side, but it looks like Stevenson may have a little bit more of an advantage here. Challoner drifting wide, trying to diamond off the corner as much as possible, but I think he's going to give up the ghost. Indeed, he does. Stevenson up to 2nd, Challoner in 3rd.
Still not a dire situation for Christian Challoner. Oh, and into the wall goes the 53. Pancaked it, exiting turn 2. That's the first time we've seen that tonight.
Yeah, it's not impossible to do. The nice thing about these cars, though, is it kind of bounces off a wall. I know there's some cars on iRacing, I think the Arca car in particular, that if you kind of hit the wall, it's kind of hard to get it unstuck.
Exactly. And amazingly, Stevenson does not lose the position, which is quite impressive. So he'll stick with it. In fact, he hasn't even really lost much on Dallas Pataska, our current leader. Challoner is still sandwiched between Forge racing drivers. Stevenson in front of him has also got Thunhorst in back, sitting 4th, but he's not all that close to the one car.
Evidence that old tyres and damage don't matter too much there, as Isaac Snyder's putting up a good fight for 8th place. I mean, he loses it, but still running a solid 9th.
Absolutely. And they see that 19 or 13 rather with, well, 32 is certainly putting some pressure on, looking left and right, seeing if there's any way past while Snyder
I spoke too soon. No yellow. Oh, there it goes.
But he's the only one involved. Is this finally the thing that sends Isaac Snyder in? I don't think he got touched there, did he?
It didn't look like he did, Joe, but he is finally going to come down pit lane. It looks like... No, he's not.
I don't think it's open yet. But you know why I think he might be... Oh, boy, they're getting close there, coming back to the field. You know why I think he's finally going to pit, other than the fact that he lost control on his own? The fact that we've gone halfway now. I think that's the magic lap he was waiting for.
He also hit the corner of the car. He's still working his way through. Did he finally find his spot? Yeah, I think he did. He's not come into pit lane. But, yeah, he absolutely thwacked that left front into the pit wall on the entry into 1. I would have thought that'd be enough that the damage would hurt the handling. He'd have to come in and get it banged away on.
The only, if he doesn't pit, I can only think of one strategy he's trying, and that's to save his free repair for when the car is absolutely dead. But no, here he comes. He's coming in.
All right, finally. I kind of want to keep the camera on. Let's see if he uses the free repair, or is he just going to hold out? Free repair, there it is. Okay. Which...
No, I thought his car would look good.
It was starting to look a little less like a super late and more like a four-cylinder street stock that just comes out every Friday night and hopes to be good enough to survive the evening. So Snyder gives up his track position finally and falls down to what looks to be 23rd, but he is still on the lead lap, and he's got fresh tires, and he's got a fresh car.
He's just going to have to make sure to not try to do some of the overcorrections he was undoubtedly having to do with that damaged car now. He's got to remember that it'll drive pretty well and straight on its own. Back up front, though, remember a little bit of a reset here. Dallas Pataska continues to lead, but Mark Stevenson was able to get by on that last restart. Now that's going to put Christian Challoner in the catbird seat of third place. Is that going to help him maybe try to get forward? But Stevenson now has some friends with him. Matthew Thunhorst, his Forge Racing teammate, back up to the front in fourth.
Okay, so let's get going once again. They've doubled up restart here on lap 162 with still 26 runners out on the track. Only one retirement so far, and that was James Walker, who's second in the championship.
And look at that, Wall in was 2 laps down, got the wave around, 1 lap down. Come on, let's get a quick caution here. I know that's not what our viewers want, but let's get Wall in back on the lead lap.
Certainly would be an incredible story. Green flag is out. Oh, a horrible start from Stevenson. Challoner caught him napping. He's going to try and complete this pass down through the inside of 1 and 2. He's got the shorter lane, but the 53 gets a better shot off the corner.
Does indeed. Challoner tries to get a little bit of a run up there, but a little bit of a pinch on the exit of turn 4 for Mark Stevenson's going to keep them side by side. Now Challoner diving it down in again. That high line starting to work, and Matthew Thunhorst looking to get involved here. If the two of those Forge Racing teammates can work together to keep Challoner down low, that may really hurt his chances. Almost looking 3 wide there as Thunhorst started to poke his nose in. Now Challoner starts to get a little bit more of an advantage, running a better line. He's going to be clear here at this point.
Oh, managed to fend off 2 of them. The 53, unfortunately, looking like he's going to have to give way to Thunhorst as well. So Matthew is now through behind them. Kurt Crum back up to the top 5 and watching all this action happen, which is all taking place behind Dallas Pataska at the front. There you see the 27 on your screen as we get another caution. This is Lynn Kinchlow this time.
We'll see if he got any help, but let's not forget 2 or 3 cautions ago he had the single car spin that kind of brought out the yellow. I think now that the 13 is repaired, I think this is the ugliest looking car on the circuit. But the fact he has someone right on his gearbox makes me think he got a bit of help this time.
He did. There you saw it on your screen. Ooh, that was a pretty hard hit too. Thing went completely around, and the left-hand side was the one that smacked into the wall. But it's not Kinchlow going in, it is Hutchison. Strangely, I see Thunhorst also on pit lane. Oh, the Forge drivers are all 3 in again.
Interesting. So this is clearly some team tactics going on here. They think they've got something to figure this out. Now, this is a little bit of a tale of 2 races there. Remember how many times we saw Christian Challoner coming in that first stint? Now it seems to be the Forge team that is coming in nearly every other caution. So a little bit of a swap there for those 2 teammates and drivers.
Apologies, I said 3 Forge drivers. There was 2, even though there's 3 on the lane. That third one was just James Walker, who has left his car sitting there. Unfortunately, he appears to be done for the night. Okay.
Yeah, Walling got his wave around. We saw that. He's back on the lead lap. All the cars that pitted the first time by got out in front of a pace car. Now, Link Intro just came in to get some damage repaired, but he's rolling again. So here we go. All 26 cars still in the race are on the lead lap once again. So we're 170 laps in. And what have we learned? Tyres don't seem to matter a whole lot. Track position does. And really, the only thing that's changed between now and the start of a race is some drivers have burned through their free repair.
I think that is going to be the telling factor. Because if we get enough hits that really start to damage the engines of cars, will we see some of them potentially have to leave this race? And will we get more people joining James Walker in the stands? We're still waiting for the lights to turn off on the pace car. So where's our highest forge guy now after that? I think that is Justin Morton. He's going to restart in 14th position, 13th position.
And look at right behind him, Isaac Snyder's up to 16th.
As for who has used the free repairs and who has not, Justin Kirby has taken his. We know that Snyder has. Looks like Ross Banfield has, as we go green once again. And Dallas Pataska gets a very good jump. He's going to lead his old rival, Christian Challenger, across through turn 1. Behind them, we got a little bit of a fight between Andrew Warren and Eric Smith.
Yeah, and what was a little bit of a fight between Kurt Crum and Ryan Steele ahead of them was ended really quickly, almost with a hip check there from Kurt Crum, but they are side by side, 2 by 2, as that is Steele and Warren, Smith and Eric, Smith and Harris.
Wow! Evolve goes around. Whoa! A good catch from Sam Harris to keep that from going worse. That actually was a bit of a nice little spin.
Yeah, he did a 360 and then rode it up on the wall. I think a Munster Jam judges would be proud of that.
Yeah, here's the replay. By the way, I was able to find the only other car that's taken their free repair, Chris Gatito. Here's the incident. Yeah, just almost looked calm from that perspective.
Yeah, it really did. And, you know, I think that little bit of climb up on the wall, a little bit unintentional there. Yeah, that's the 43 getting into the side of him, catches it, just a little bit of a, oh, hey, Wall, how you doing? And then back down again.
He high-fived it.
Yeah, in Munster Jam, that's what we call two-wheel skills. And before that, obviously, was the donut competition. DJ, you mentioned... trying to remember who it was I wanted to talk about. Ryan Steele, under that previous green flag run. I've noticed a couple of restarts recently. He has not gotten off to great restarts. Now, I know a lot of that could be tyre wear, but I'm sure the other drivers racing up front have noticed that too. He's not necessarily a driver you want to be restarting right behind in the late stages here.
No, he's not. And part of the reason on that tire wear is that he is this driver who has run second longest on his set of tires right now. He's got 110 laps on those 4 pieces of rubber. The only driver who's run longer is Dallas Pataska, believe it or not, up in front of him. So Steele has been a little bit slow, and he's also been a little bit aggressive in trying to defend that position. I think he knows what's at stake with those older tires, and so he's really fighting for everything he can keep on this track.
Things have really slowed down in this latest stage of the race. We've been getting a spate of cautions happening quite quickly. So it's picked up a bit. Hopefully we can get this back to running green, because we still have 100+ laps to go tonight in the Snowball Derby. If you're just joining us, this is the 12th round of the majors that we're watching. Dallas Pataska leads after starting on the pole. He went back in the field after a pit stop, but eventually found his way back forward. Christian Challenger, who started from 8th, looks very fast in the race itself, and after a couple of pit stops early is now back up front. And then Ryan Steele, as we mentioned, who has gone up from 19th to 3rd, is just trying to gut it out, because it seems like track position is king here tonight. So we'll restart on lap 179. There goes the pace car. Pataska gets on the throttle. Green flag is out. Very good jump for Christian Challenger. Also a good jump for the 32. That damaged car of Ryan Steele's doesn't seem to like getting going. He's going to try and get back underneath and get that third place back, but the 32 says no.
Yeah, and that's going to cause Steele to check up a little bit, and I think Andrew Waring's going to get pretty interested in the back of that blue machine. Behind him, though, a little bit too wide of action. That is Brian Barnes and Justin Kirby getting in there, and Jeff Schmeier starting to get interested as well. Now Schmeier dotting down to the inside of the 43.
43 gives way behind them. They've got a couple Forge cars starting to come forward. And it looks like Isaac Snyder in there as well. Oh, what a bobble for McGreevy. Catches the car. Thankfully, no accident. I think he made a tiny bit of contact with Snyder.
You see the drivers getting up high there, especially with the marbles that we've had all race long. Is not necessarily the place you want to be. But once again on the restart then, we saw not a great restart by Ryan Steele. He's able to get away with it in fourth position, but definitely going the wrong direction.
That 27 still at it yet again. Not giving up on this one as he battles side by side with Travis Warling. Travis, now that he's back on the lead lap, up to 15th. Oh, he almost got tipped around as Russell drifted high. Thankfully did not spin his rival.
No, he did not, but a nice little triangle battle going on here, trying to hold everything together. The 27 moving this way and that. There's the 114 of Jason Wallet down to the inside, just trying to hold that line the best that he can. Wallet now looking like he's losing ground, having to check up off the corner.
Now Russell, and he is going to be able to get side by side, so Russell's going to give this a go. Seeing if the wide lane works for him. Behind him, I also see Mark Stevenson trying to do the same, and it does for Mark. It does for Russell. Oh, but Russell goes in a little too hot into turn one there.
Yeah, not where Mark Stevenson wants to be right now. Almost finding himself, in a three-wide scenario there. Stuck around 20th place right now. Remember, this is the guy who qualified. Oh, and he's got trouble in front of him and gets rear-ended.
Oh, Stevenson gets the worst of it. It happened in front of him. I think, was that the 44? I think McGreevy. Yet again, we've seen a couple 360s here. I know it's the Snowball Derby, but we don't need to see ice skating today.
No, we certainly don't. Let's check out the replay on this. We're focusing in on the 44. So it was a 68, I believe, that had the problem. Oh, is this a teammate conflagration here? This could be bad news. Oh, that's not what you want to do. You do not want to run into your teammate. That's a no-no.
I think the judges give it a 9. So we got a few more pitters after that, including Dallas Pataska. As we see the incident, the 42 gets another hit just as he tries to clear everything. 53 almost looks a little frustrated the way he tries to get that car rolling again.
Well, we know fuel-wise they're all good because Isaac Snyder made it over half distance. And I'm pretty sure we've seen everyone pit in like the last 60 laps or so. That's Trent Brown. He was a lap down. He's getting back on the lead laps. 26 on the lead lap again. I think most of the field, if not all of them, should be good fuel-wise. So I've got to imagine at some point when we're seeing the likes of Pataska and that come in here, they're just saying, okay, this way I know I've got tyres that are going to be somewhat fresh at the end. Because now we're coming to the point where we're about to hit 100 laps to go, and the race is just going to feel different for all of the competitors heading into the last 100 laps.
Have I mentioned that Jeff Schmeier got his spare car? Because he has. And he's up to second place now.
He wasn't on the lead lap earlier. He was a lap down, yeah.
Way to stick with it. Thing is, if he gets into trouble again, he's got no safety net now. Whereas Ryan Steele does, since he hasn't taken his spare car. We're not double file quite yet. And, go ahead.
Yeah, DJ, what are your thoughts on Ryan Steele's restart here? Because both you and I have noticed he hasn't gotten the best of restarts on those older tyres, but now he's the control car, and normally that helps a little bit. You know, if you're the control car, you can push a gas pedal down a bit more predictably Do you think he's going to be all right here?
I think he's going to be semi-okay. I mean, he'll be able to control the pace, as you said there, Sam. What I'm worried about for him, though, is Justin Morton, the number 9 behind him. I was watching him on that last green flag run, and Justin's got some supreme confidence in that car, really diving it down low, taking some very, very aggressive maneuvers. That number 9 Forge machine is a car to watch, so that's what we're going to have to keep an eye on.
All right, we're coming back to the restart now here on lap 193. Now you see that 9 trying to take advantage here. And the green flag is out. He does get a great start. Schmeier does not. I think he's going to be able to get underneath him. Does he have eyes set for the lead? Oh, he can't because the yellow flag's already out. I see Barnes around. I also see Wayne Hutchison. Don't know if it started with them.
Christian Challoner got a little scratched up in that. I was watching Challoner on the restart because Pataska, funnily enough, was right behind him.
And it was Nick Kuhn, along with Chris Yatito, that started it. Kuhn tried to chop down. Ooh, my goodness, that was a bit of a messy one. No place to go for so many cars down at the bottom.
And I think Christian Challoner probably thanking a little bit of the internet gods there as he didn't get a larger lap. That car pretty much ghosted through him there.
Ooh, yeah, I just saw it. Huh. Sometimes the luck is with you, I suppose. So
That
Challoner...
will count as a 4X, so when that happens, it just doesn't damage your car.
He's up to 13th after that. The reason we're focusing so much on him, if you're not used to this, is he's a 2-time champion, the only 2-time champion in the majors currently, and the current reigning champion, along with the championship leader. So the 1 is significant on that car. We're waiting to see what this does to his championship hopes, because he has to keep Andrew Waring back at this point. In fact, it's the only car really that he's got to be concerned about. Travis Worling maybe a bit as well as Justin Morton, but they start to get to be quite far behind, considering the points for win in this series are only 50.
How about Travis Worling? He's in 6th. He was 4 laps down about 100 laps ago.
All right, so Travis Worling up into that 6th spot. Going to restart on the outside of the 3rd row. This is why you don't give up. Not sure what happened with James Walker. I'd really wish we could talk to him, find out if there was some extraneous circumstances that caused him to retire early. This time, Justin Morton's going to start on the outside. We also have Isaac Snyder restarting in 5th. And I think we're going to be watching from Isaac's perspective here on the restart. At least I thought we were.
Well, we got another lap here. The lights are still on.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's...
They're all lined up. They're all too wide. You guys got to stop doing that. We're not that smart here up in the booth. We're easily duped.
Yeah, no, they didn't add the lap of caution. The drivers just chose to go double file. So maybe the guys on the outside are thinking, hey, we can clear the marbles doing it this way.
Yeah, but don't they have to restart with all those marbles on their tires, though, then?
Yeah, maybe we'll see some more swerving. Because, of course, the other thing that's about to happen here very quickly is we're about to hit the final 100 laps.
Okay, here we go. Isaac Snyder hopes that he doesn't have to take a rest on that comforter behind him prematurely as we go green and down into the corner. He's got a pretty good shot. You can see him just looking over occasionally, trying to watch and see where those are around him. He's the only one clear amongst our top 5. The top 2 are still fighting for the lead, including the 9, who's going to try and take the lead away from Steele. Can he get it?
Oh, Challoner just turned the car in front of him. Challoner's in the grass. Pataska in the grass too. We stay green.
Oh, no. Challoner goes to 16th. Pataska goes to 18th. So everybody's scattered, but no yellow. Battle isn't done at the front. The 9 still working hard on Ryan Steele. That damaged car is putting up a hell of a fight.
It really is, Joe, and Justin Morton is also putting up just an equal amount of a scrap on that outside line. He really dove it in on that last lap. Not nearly as good of a run there, but the Ants are marching 2 bikes to out front as that is Schmeier and Thunhorst running side by side with them. There you can see Justin Morton not looking to his left. He is fully a car length ahead as they go into turn 1. He just needs the drive off the line, and I think he can get it, and that's going to be Steele trying to find a place to slot in behind, but Morton fully into the lead. Matthew Thunhorst now battling for second.
Bit of wheel spin, unfortunately, for the 12. Cost him there, and now Thunhorst is by. Your new leader there was on the screen, Justin Morton, to the point. I need to check and see if he has actually won a race in the majors yet.
While you're checking that, I'll make a note. Andrew Warren lost a few spots a lap ago. I think he must have had a moment coming out of one of the corners and has dropped back to 16th.
All right, so I do not see any of Justin mentioned at any point as we once again get our onboard of Russell. I do believe that Morton is looking at his maiden victory if he can keep this car at the point for the remaining 100, or slightly less than 100 laps.
Well, remember, those Ford's racing drivers did go over 100 laps on that previous set of tires. We've seen drivers do it, but if they push it at this point, they'll be pushing upwards near 140 laps, and I don't think I've fully seen that happen quite yet. Good side-by-side action there in the back. Ryan Steele looking like he desperately needs a pit stop. His tires are on 142 laps right now.
Travis Warling just snuck by Alex Russell as well for the 6th place. Sam?
Yeah, the problem is if your car isn't handling or if you're on old tires now, I think it's too late, DJ. We're running with only 90 laps to go now. For the first time this race, it looks like we're in the run that might have a bit of a green flag feel to it, as say as a 53 almost spins the car in front of him out. And you're seeing even Christian Challoner, the Christian Challoner, is struggling to get through the field right now. He's stuck in 12th place. I mean, he's doing it, he's making up spots, but not very quickly.
Just got himself into 10th now as he went by Lynn Kinchlow. Kinchlow looks to be limping around the track as he's getting swamped by a number of cars. There you can see 4 of them. He tries to stay low. That almost causes an accident with Harris and Crum. And I think they're going to be able to get by now.
Looks like they are going to be able to do so. They're trying to work on that high line. A little bit of a squiggle there from Lynn Kinchlow down on the inside. Kurt Crum trying to fight with him the best that he can.
Well, we try to get Mr. Ed out of the booth. We now watch this fight continue on to the front stretch. Oh, a big slip up there from Kinchlow. Keeps it out of the wall, and the 44 will fall back into 14th as Thunhorst just took the lead from Morton.
He did indeed. Those Ford's racing drivers really doing a good job of just running up front and keeping everything behind him. Isaac Snyder in 3rd behind them.
Thunhorst is really eager for this one. He's 4th on the all-time winners list in this series, along with being a series champion. And that will be important because Pataska in this race, if Pataska wins, he'll tie Thunhorst for that 4th position. So he wants to try and keep that pole sitter as far back as he can. This battle continues on here. A little bit farther back, Christian Challoner. Whoa! Just chucking it into the corner of the 53. There's a corner there, bud. You got to turn left, and he's going to fall all the way to 11th.
Not a good moment for the Forge car there. Talking about not good moments for the Forge cars, we missed that Christian Tito has become our 2nd retirement. So we're down to 25 cars, all of them still on the lead lap though.
Oh, not sure what caused Yatito to have to take off for this one, as we see Alex Russell on the bottom side of Ryan Steele, and just below there is Christian Challoner somehow finding space underneath Kevin Hill. I don't know how, because it didn't look like there was a spot.
No, there certainly didn't, but I think after all Christian Challenger's been through today, he is just charging as hard as he can. About over 80 laps here to go. Challenger knows it is go time, and he has certainly got the pedal down here, trying to challenge on Alexander Russell ahead of him.
He's running 16.8s even amongst this traffic right now. For comparison, 16.7s for Thunhorse, so he's only losing a 10th despite having to race side by side.
And these laps just clicking down as Challenger picks off another position. And now the yellow flies.
It's Brian McGreevy on the backstretch, it appears. Facing sideways. He got, well, a little help, but only after the fact. 68 got spun. And that was the 43 of Justin Kirby, who just couldn't get out of the way in time.
Well, if your car is not handling too well right now, or if you're not happy with the tires, I think you need to pit this yellow.
I think so as well. Now's about the best time as any. And Schmeier agrees with you. He's going to pit in, giving up a top 5 position. I think Steele has had enough of having to deal with that car. Let me see if Steele takes his spare car here. There he is. No, does not pop into place, but he is taking tires.
Why haven't we seen a lot of Brian Barnes today? It just surprises me that he's been back there so much.
That is a little bit concerning. He's usually pretty good on the oval stuff. But yeah, now that you mention it, I'm not sure that we've even seen him in the top 10 at any stage.
Yeah, he really just hasn't factored in that much here tonight. Currently running all the way back in 22nd position, exactly where he started, as a matter of fact. It's a little bit confusing there out of that number 4 machine. I don't have a good answer for you guys on that one.
Just realized, I don't know if we've mentioned this already, this caution. Isaac Snyder's going to restart in 3rd place now. This is a guy that I think has the whole strategy sussed out pretty well. Even if he doesn't have the pace to challenge the leaders, he's got it sorted that it's all down to track position. So no need to pit, just keep it rolling, keep it pointed forward, and keep it out of trouble. Granted, keeping it out of trouble is not exactly what he's been doing this race.
That's a very fair point, Joe. But my only concern here for this leading 4 drivers, Thunhorse, Morton, Snyder, and Warling, by race's end, they're going to have a lot of laps on these tires. They're going to have around 120 or so, and that's about the point where we've seen some pretty significant fall off in the tires. Obviously, Snyder able to make that mega run work earlier on, but I've got to think that there may be a little bit of action coming from them from behind with the tires as worn in as they will be.
Challenger and Pataska, they've been together a lot this race, even when they've been on different strategies, and here we are. They're restarting 5th and 6th. I wasn't impressed at the pace that Challenger was coming through the field. I thought he wasn't doing it quickly enough, but things have worked out quite well here. He's in 5th, and I think that's a good place for him to be in right now.
Yeah, which will be on the inside on this restart. Most drivers seem to have done well from there. Green flag is out. Great shot off the corner by Matthew Thunhorst. His teammate is going to be able to find a gap behind him. Challenger already looking to see if he can get by the likes of Warling as the 90 holds the high side.
And while that was going on, Jeff Schmeier got turned in turn 1. I thought we would have a yellow because the back half of the field got trekked up, but we stayed green.
Looks like Challenger might have this. Yep, the orange and white. Number 90 gives up the ghost. Now looking on the 13 of Isaac Snyder up next, but he does not have the pace of those top 2. He is already half a second behind them.
Yeah, he certainly is falling back. There you can see Challenger starting to try to make the push as we look out the back here of Isaac Snyder, trying as hard as he can to hold off that charging number 1 machine. Drivers behind starting to file into line a little bit more. But they're continued to come here. 2:30 to go. That's a driver coming out of the pits. That is Brian McGreevy.
Yep, trying to return as smoothly as he can and not interrupt all these fights on track. Pinching it low off the corner. Challenger's trying to find an opening, getting underneath the 13, but nothing's working yet. He's got Pataska breathing down his neck as well. If he waits too long, I don't think Dallas is going to wait forever here.
No, I don't think he is either, Joe. Dallas knows he's got to get a move on as much as possible. He knows his main battle competitor out here is Christian Challenger. Challenger thought about a little look to the outside there on Isaac Snyder. Now he's going to try to cut down low. Is he going to be able to get a crossover? No, Snyder's going to cut him off. Snyder running a very smart defensive line here. Look how late of an apex he's taking. He's really preventing Challenger from getting any kind of overlap. It's very heads up from the 13.
Got a caution, and it's Kurt Crum on the backstretch in the 7. Another one that got a little help, but he honestly was kind of the victim of circumstance. Hill in front of him checks up. Eric Smith did not behind him.
Yeah, almost looked like we weren't going to get a yellow. He stopped on the grass on the infield, and I think it's... yeah, so there we see they're just playing bumper cars there, exit in turn 2. And it wasn't until he started driving back up onto the circuit that the yellow finally flew. I wanted to make a note there as we were watching all that racing going on for third place. The great news for our top 2 of Turnhorst and Morton, of course, is as all those guys were battling for third, they could afford, you know, their teammates. They could just afford to ride around, take care of their tires, take care of their equipment. It might not necessarily be new tires that they're on, but if they're keeping them cool right now, that could definitely help them out in this final shootout.
Certainly could. And by the way, I can report that the 888 of Yatito is back out on the track. So we are at 26 cars once again. We'll see if that lessens itself. Chris did use his spare car, so he had to, unfortunately, give up the extra one in the hauler and is now without that safety net himself. I was kind of amusing myself there for a moment, realizing just how many pit stops we've had for some drivers. Warling's on 12, so is Ross Banfield. They've been done a couple better by Nick Kuhn, who's at 14. Same thing with Alex Russell. You get to Justin Kirby, 16 pit stops in this race, and he's still on the lead lap.
That is just impressive, Joe. And Kirby, obviously, unfortunately, has been involved in quite a few incidents out here today. The fact that he is still on the lead lap just shows you how good of a driver he is in that 43 machine, catching up to the back of the field right now.
He has used his spare car, too, so that is gone for him. Still got the lights on. Not going to be fooled this time by our drivers, even though a couple of them have gotten lined up here at the front. Lap 237 now, so they're starting to tick off again. We've been getting a few more decent runs, though we haven't been able to get too many long runs.
Yeah, Matthew Turnhorst is sitting in a nice place here because I think he's basically got to win the races on the restart. So Justin Morton is just going to play the rear gunner role as his teammate and try and hold down second, try and hold down the team 1-2 for them here. And even if Christian Challenger or someone is able to work their way up into second, they've kind of been burning their tires off to get back up there. And so I think Matthew's sitting pretty.
Fun Horse takes the green, and we get restarted on lap 239. His teammate Justin Morton on the Forge team going to slot in as it's a battle between the 7 and the 13. Christian Challenger was trying it on the low side with Snyder before. Now he's going to try it on the high side to see if he can get it done. The answer so far isn't quite a yes. Oh, he gets a great run into 1 and 2.
Yes, he does, and he is fully clear by the time they come out of turn 2. Snyder checks back. Oh, that's one of the Forge drivers spinning around in the back. Ooh, a little bit of a hit there, too.
It's Stevenson, and that wasn't what brought out the caution. That was Hutchison. Stevenson ran into Warling.
Yeah, this was a chain reaction from a whole bunch of things going on. So Hutchinson only hit the wall because Kevin Hill got away with it. Kevin Hill basically... is the one I thought was going to bring up a caution. He was bouncing all over the place. and then Hutchinson kind of gets the tail end of it. You can see they're already 3 wide at that point. And so that's what brings out the yellow. But then what happens on down the back straight?
Yeah, the car 53 gets into the wall, bounces back off. Together they come, and in comes everybody else.
And we've seen that happen a couple of times here at a short track like this. You all just get in together and you get that contact. Looks like that is going to be Warling and down on pit lane along with Wayne Hutchinson. Getting a wave around there, I believe, is Brian McGreevy. So he'll only be a lap down when we get going back under green here.
And that caution came at a good time for Christian Challoner because he was scored ahead of Isaac Snyder, so he'll restart on the bottom this time. By the way, we got some information from one of James Walker's friends. Unfortunately, he's been having wheel issues, so he did not leave for anything other than a technical problem, it appears. Otherwise, he could have been trying to continue to fight this one out. That's a real shame that it came down to that, of all things, that this might be what cost him the championship. It will take some extraordinary circumstances for him to come back and be able to challenge Challoner in the final 2 events.
I don't foresee Tito really being able to pick up any positions from being 28 laps down here. Although again, I think as we close in on the last few laps of this race, I am surprised with the amount of cautions we've had today that we haven't really had a big one. I mean, yes, we have had multi-car incidents with a lot of cars getting dins and the fenders, but everyone's been able to keep on going. Now, a lot of the drivers have exhausted their free repairs. So it'll be, and the other thing we've got to be aware of here is drivers getting high up there in the incident count. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a couple of them disappear by hitting 40x. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised in these last few laps if we see a couple of wrecks with a bit more consequences as opposed to the first 200 laps where it seems like everyone's laughed it off, came in the pits, got repairs and gone out there and battled again.
Yeah, this is where we need Lionel Little Train Callisto out on the track. He was notorious for saving his spare car all the way to the end. Big checkup on the inside line. And that meant that the one of Christian Challoner was not able to try and get inside of Morton, although he's still trying behind him. Pataska is fending off the 32 of Eric Smith. Looks like he's able to get that done. And the one is now able to try and get side by side with Justin Morton. He's got the bottom line. Can he finish the job?
Looks a little bit stronger on corner exit there coming at it too, and he really did that by sheer force of will alone, Joe. I think Christian Challoner did, so he keeps pushing there, keeps digging down on that low line, trying to make it work. He's got a little bit ahead as they come into turns 1 and 2. Starts to edge ahead again. Morton making his life a little bit more difficult than I'd like. I think Christian Challoner would like it though.
So as Challoner now gets fully ahead, does the 9 try to get down low? Yep, he's got to give up the ghost, and Morton's been blinking a bit. That certainly doesn't make life fun. Hopefully that settles out as we jump back to the 13 now behind them, and Pataska is the one that is stuck. Credit to Isaac Snyder. He is a stout defender, makes life very difficult for the fastest drivers to get by.
Yeah, I just can't help but think, though, if we do get another yellow, Christian Challoner might not be in the best position here, having to restart second.
13 brushed the wall there, and that allowed Pataska finally through. Oh, he's going to get turned. That's Smith getting him. Caution out. Everybody avoids him. Oh, that's got to be frustrating. Snyder all the way up into the top 5, and now he's sent entirely through the field to 23rd.
Yeah, and I'm not sure this is what Challoner wants either. I think Challoner's best chance of winning this race is a long green flag run, which is kind of bad news considering the pattern that we've seen of a race so far.
Yeah, I'm not sure what our longest run is, but I wouldn't say more than 20 laps so far that we've seen them being able to plug their way around. There's the 13. He's got a long row to hoe after he did such a good job with his strategy. Just kind of got a little sucked into things, smacked that wall, and that set off the incident that he had in the end. Ryan Steele is in the pits.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about, but talking about smacking the wall, Alexander Russell during that run had a big moment on the front straight. I think he went 2 wheels up on the front straight when he got the right-hand side of his car in the wall, but it doesn't seem to have affected him too much, and he's still out there in 10th place.
So that was our hardest charger up until that point, Isaac Snyder. That now gives it up to, well, we were complaining about not seeing him up at the front. Brian Barnes has gone from 22nd to 7th, and Ross Banfield has matched him 23rd to 8th.
Well, there you go. That just goes to show what can happen here in the late stages of a race like this. As they come to the line, that'll be 45 laps to go here. So certainly some more area to take up here. But Sam, coming back to what you were saying earlier, I'm going to be watching here on this restart Justin Morton and even Eric Smith, those drivers on the low side. That traditionally looks like it's been a little bit better. Christian Challoner bucking the trend a little bit last time out, starting in 3rd. But that low line, the even or the odd numbered starting positions seem to be a little better off.
Yeah, well, we got another lap under caution. I really wonder if our director can go about 4 minutes back to the completion of lap 248 when Alexander Russell in the 38 car had his moment coming off of turn 4. We might not be able to pull it up, but it was some moment.
We'll see if we can get that spooled up or not. We're looking for it. Now, also, while we've got a moment, the 4 of Barnes, I want to send a petition to iRacing. It's been a couple years now, I think, since we've seen Barnes in his popsicle livery. Here's the incident with the 248.
Yeah, it was the end of lap 248. So if this is it, you'll see he has a big wiggle where it gets a bit of contact and then saves the car by basically running it into the wall.
Whoa!
It keeps going. There we go. I'm glad we got that. That was worth going back for.
Like nothing happens. That is impressive. But as we come
here we go. Yep.
Yeah, we're coming back to green just in time as Matthew Thunhorst leads the way, and the 9 of Justin Morton is having to do battle with the 1 of Christian Challoner around his outside, using that VR to great effect, getting right up to the side of his car, almost rubbing doors, but the 1 is mighty, shooting off the corner. There we see the onboard.
And I thought for a second Challoner may lose a little bit of it as that tail got a little squirrely coming into 1, but now he is firmly down back onto that low line. So Challoner has his eyes set ahead to Matthew Thunhorst ahead of him. Justin Morton behind him trying to push in and dig to see what he can have, but he's also got a mirror full of Dallas Pataska behind him, the 2 people that we've had our eyes on for most of this race starting to close in.
And in the background, we could see a touch between the 4 of Barnes and Sam Harris in the 42. They're in a fight with Andrew Waring around the outside of both of them, and I think he's going to be able to get that done. I was saying earlier that I'd love to see that popsicle sponsor come back on iRacing as we got a spin, maybe? No, holding it. Banfield doesn't even hit the wall. What a save. Although to the inside, unfortunately. Oh, Russell! Alex Russell has DNF as he hit the incident limit. That's our first of today.
Yeah, it might not be the last.
Wow, that was sudden.
That's created a massive gap in between the 2 packs.
Oh, it's got to be frustrated as we continue this battle for 9th position. Trent Brown on the inside, Ross Banfield on the outside. Jeff Schmeier tries to get involved. He manages to get underneath. How many other drivers are getting close to that magic 40 number?
Oh, that was a very, very gnarly move there from Jeff Schmeier, diving down to the inside of Ross Banfield. You almost see him getting a little bit of the apron as he did it. I think he's got it fully ahead now, and that's going to be Justin Kirby trying to get his way through.
A lot of action here in the mid-pack. This could cause yet another yellow the way things have been going. Oh, and look at him start to pack up down into turn 1. It's getting tight.
Travis Wallen really thrown it in there. Remember, he'd He came back up towards the front and then dropped back towards the back a while ago. So I think he's kind of in a hurry trying to get by his teammate here. Wallen's car in better condition than his teammates, so the 777 not putting up too much of a fight.
Finally, they go single file, not without hitting nose to tail for a number of those cars. They're doing an impressive job in this to keep this rolling.
Oh, Challenger's caught Fernhurst.
He has. Funhorst sees that one. He knows how quick he is, and he knows he's on slightly fresher rubber than him. It's 0.2 of a second between them. Doesn't have his teammate to help try and distract him because Justin Morton has fallen away. And in fact, Dallas Pataska has not been able to dispose of that 9 yet either. So he can't help Matthew Funhorst try to give some hassle to the one car.
Yeah, I think at this point, the Forge drivers are praying for another caution to come out and give those tires. Whoa, big slide from Christian Challenger. He's able to keep it together, but that's going to cost him a couple of tenths.
I think he touched the apron, and that's what sent it sliding. Beautiful catch there from the one. He's a little farther back now. Can he regain this as we head back to the 43? 2x2 and Noah's Ark in the mid-pack.
Yeah, this is where if they want the caution to come out, this is the kind of battle that would bring it out. Remember, we haven't really gone 20 laps without a caution so far, but the numbers are starting to dwindle with just 23 cars left in the lead lap. I don't think Challenger wants a yellow. I really think he wants to play the long run game here.
And this is starting to become one of the longer runs that we've gotten. Great call on that, Sam, because you're right. He is once again on the rear spoiler of that 98. He likes this car once it starts to get wound up.
Yeah, it really does, and you see just how aggressive he's getting with that apron, Joe. You speculated, and I think you're right, that's what caused that slip up the last time out. Wow, he has just got such good closing speed through the middle to end part.
Oh, we got trouble. Snyder just got into a car, and he saves it, but brings out the yellow.
I think Steele is the one that he got into.
Yeah, Ryan still saved it, but they brought out the caution.
Can we get an onboard with Steele to watch his hands, because this was a Tokyo Drift Florida style. There's the touch. Almost looked like a little netcode from that angle, but I think they were on a trajectory to each other.
Surprised that balled out a caution.
Yeah, considering some of the incidents we had before with multiple cars. Here's the onboard. We can sort of see the hands here. Woo! Ow! Sawing logs, but he kept it rolling. I think we've got an opportunity now with Alex Russell, who is our latest DNF, sadly. Let's see if we can talk to him to see a bit about his perspective of this race. Alex, you were one of those that seemed to have a lot going on out on the track, up and down the field, and involved in multiple incidents. What are your feelings about this race at this point?
Anything that could go wrong did. That's really what happened tonight. It's just everything happened. I mean, crashes, me self-spinning almost, hitting the wall. It's a crazy race for sure, and I didn't expect this many cautions or wrecks, but here we are. We'll be watching it on TV, I guess.
Yeah, it's understandable, and I'm sure I can hear the disappointment in your voice. Were you aware that you were that close to the 40X when it happened?
I was above 30 from like lap 100 on. Like it was always close, and everything just happened really early. Then it cleaned out, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll make it to the end. Kind of keeping an eye on the incident cap, and then just wreck after wreck. I got involved in a few towards the end here, and then I just hit the wall after accidentally getting into, I think, the 90. So I got into someone. They saved the car, which was real good. I expected them to come down, and I hit the wall on the inside. That
is a bit of a shame that it went that way. You've been down in the trenches. We can only call things from up here. From what you were seeing, who's the man to beat today? Is it Challenger? Is it Thunhorst?
I have to say It's probably going to be Thunhorst here. They have quite a good car going on. They have a few teammates up there. But I know Challenger knows how to get these races done. He's done them before.
He has indeed. Well, again, commiserations. Thank you for coming and talking to us, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you in better circumstances in the next 2 rounds.
Hopefully. Thanks for having me.
That's Alex Russell, who is our latest DNF today. Here we go. Pace car is in, restarting on lap 280. We're down to the final stages. Challenger is going to send it in deep, trying to see what he can get, and he does get a nose beside, but it's not there. Justin Morton doesn't get beneath him, so he goes single file.
And I think crucially behind there, that was Eric Smith able to get a nose in on Dallas Pataska, so that's going to give Justin Morton some breathing room to go full attack to try to help his teammate, Matthew Thunhorst, up ahead to try to keep Challenger off of his rear wing.
Yeah, Pataska having a heck of a time here on screen, the 32 down low, just not giving way. He wants valuable points as well in this race. And Pataska is vying for the European Championship, by the way. So this is not his main fight. This is all for pride out here today for the 23.
Well, it's nice to see Challenger get such a good restart despite being on the high side, which is always a bit difficult to do here on iRacing, but that's why Challenger's a pro, and he's right there on the gearbox of Thunhorst, and we're only coming to 17 laps left to go. If this stays green to the end, and I think that's a big if, we're only about 5 minutes away from wrapping this up.
Watching from the gearbox of Matthew Thunhorst. Sounded like a bit of a toss.
Oh, it was a big if for 37, Trent Brown.
I think a solo incident too.
No, he got helped. Well, he didn't collect anyone else, but he definitely didn't lose it on his own.
Yeah, Snyder, and then try to see a second car got him. Looks like Ryan Steele. Neither car disappeared though, so they're holding tough on those incident points. Oh man, that was a big thwack for Brown. No, he hasn't used his spare car, so Brown is still able to come in if he needs, if that car is bad enough.
Getting a spin around helicopter like that, Joe, he may just want to, but I think more importantly, this sets up yet another re-rack. We saw Justin Morton there be able to get a little bit of a challenge on Christian Challenger. Maybe gonna try to do that again here. Those Forge guys perfecting, it looks a little bit like their restarts here in the closing stages of the race.
So Trent Brown has now used, no, he has not used his spare car. These are very hardy machines, I must admit. Now he has. Okay, Brown's car pops into place and he is gone.
No, it makes sense. I'm assuming we don't have green-white checkers in this race, so there's only 1 or 2 more opportunities left for cautions, left for wrecks here, and he's at the back anyway, so why not? You know, if you get caught in a wreck and you lose your second car here, what have you lost?
Yeah. Well, that's why I was so shocked that I didn't see it tick over at first. I was like, surely now is the time, especially after such a hard hit. So without the green-white checkers, that means that those at the front, Challenger's got to be even more aggressive because we're going to restart probably with about 10 laps to go this time. And if we get a caution with 5 or less laps left, that ends the race.
It does indeed. So that is going to be a big storyline here. Challenger is going to know that fully, and he is going to be on it, Joe.
But can he do anything about Thunhorst? As just before the caution, I was about to say that according to Russell, it sounded like these two are quite evenly matched out there, and it's hard to pick who is going to be the likely winner. It might just come back down to this restart or the next one if we get one more as to who takes the victory. Forge, remember, really wants to try and make up for the loss of the win out at New Hampshire. So Matthew Thunhorst has got to be eager to try and take some vengeance for James Walker, as we are now double file. The lights are out. restarting, as I said, on lap 290, 11 to go. So I was close, and as it waves, it's a great jump there for Thunhorst in communication with his teammate, because here comes the 9, managing to get underneath Challenger.
That's exactly what Forge needed to do, Joe, and now Morton just trying to hold that out. I don't know if this is as much a battle for position as it is just a battle to disrupt that number 1.
He's gotten ahead. Does he chop down? He could. He's got just about enough clearance. He decides not to. We watch with the onboard of Justin Morton as Christian Challenger now solidly into second place.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head on that restart there, Joe. Thunhorst and Morton must have been on the communication. Thunhorst said, okay, as soon as the pace car is going in, I'm going. Morton obviously knew that. He got the great restart. And even though Challenger is holding down second place right now, Morton did what he needed to do. He's allowed Thunhorst to create a little bit of a gap. And we're running out of time here. If a caution comes out in about 2 or 3 laps, that will end it.
They're staying tight. Oh, and the 9 hits the wall. He's starting to feel those tires go off a little bit now. He went a long way on them. In fact, they're over 130 laps old at this stage as Eric Smith...
Wallen is around. I think we might have enough time for another 1-lap shootout.
I think we do as well. It might even be 2 laps. He got turned, unfortunately, by the 53 of Stevenson.
I'm very curious to look at the incident count after this race.
I am as well.
I think there's a bunch on 30-something.
There's the touch. Sliding up the hill. Just about keeps it from hitting the wall, just nudges it, and thankfully holds the brakes. Everybody stays out of him.
Yeah, everybody able to pull down there out of the way. Hoi, oi, oi, Joe, that noise I was making earlier, that was sheer excitement. This is what it's all about. 1, maybe 2-lap shootout here at the Snowball Derby for the Majors American region. This is going to be incredible. Thunhorst, Morton, Challenger, and Pataska, how is this podium going to shake out?
These have been lengthier cautions. Sorry, Joe. These have been lengthier cautions than I thought. I think we're going to have a 1-lap shootout. I could be wrong.
By the way, we lost our favorite 13 of Isaac Snyder to the incident limit, and of the absolute most frustrating of ways, a car chopped across his nose, must have given them the 4X, and he blipped out. Neither of them spun, neither of them were in danger. It just was one of those things, unfortunately. So we're up to 3 retirees.
I was in an official series race on iRacing recently where I had 13 incident points and 17 was going to boot us. And the race was over. We were like sitting under the final race-ending caution, and I just knew, okay, nobody bump me. Please, nobody bump me while we're just circulating under caution here, because I will be out of a race. And fortunately, no one did. But yeah, it's just it's so frustrating, so unnerving when you get that close. All right, I do think a pace car lights are gonna go out here, so it will be a 1-lap shootout.
It will indeed, which means it cannot finish under caution, because once the white flag falls, it can only go to the checkers. And lights are out. 1 lap to decide this after 299 of them.
I'm picking Thunhorst. DJ, how about you?
I've got to go with Thunhorst as well. His restarts have been too good.
I have to agree. I hate to be predictable, but Thunhorst with the inside. Challenger, the only way he's going to get this is if he plays rough, and that's just not the way that the 1 races. Here we go. The pace car is in, and the 98 goes immediately. But the question is, can Challenger keep second place? Because here comes the 9 as we take the final lap here at the Snowball Derby. The 98 is clear. It looks like Morton might have something as he tries to send it in deep on Christian Challenger. But regardless, the victory goes to Matthew Thunhorst, the 8th of his career here in the majors. Challenger does get second, just barely ahead of Morton, who rounds out your podium, and we had a wreck at the finish.
Justin Kirby threw it into turn 3. He just let it all hang out. He lost control, spun exit in turn 4, incidented out. He hit 40 incident points, but it didn't matter. Everyone else was already involved.
Oh, unbelievable. He was literally 10 feet from the line when he hit that incident limit. If he had not done that, he would have finished decently. But, oh boy, as we get a Polish victory lap from Matthew Thunhorst, that's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Five Flag Speedway here in Pensacola, Florida. Round 12 of the majors was the Snowball Derby. Before we go to the results, we have a replay of that last incident, which actually took out a bunch of cars. We were joking about how many were close on incidents. Well, I think about 3 of them went over 40 in that last wreck. Here we go from the full restart. Sam, you got a better look at that wreck at the end. Talk us through.
Well, Justin Kirby restarts up high here. Obviously, that's not the place to be. Down the back straight, he finds a way to get down onto the low line, and then he kind of just sends it into turn 3. The car doesn't stick. He loses it. So here he goes. He's down on the low line now. He's trying to make a pass, and it doesn't stick. And as a result, this happens, DJ.
Yeah, there you can see Kirby spins and everybody, yeah, there Kirby hitting the incident limit. That's what cut him out there. You can see just the absolute carnage that resulted. There you can see everybody coming in. A lot of those drivers nowhere to go, flipping and flopping all over the place.
Well, that will now finally take us to the results, and Matthew Thunhorst was our winner, as I mentioned, taking his 8th victory ever in the Majors Series. Christian Challoner finished behind him in 2nd and will still extend his gap over all of his rivals in this season's championship hunt. Justin Morton with a great run from 10th to finish 3rd, helping out his teammate there at the end. Dallas Pataska couldn't quite get it up to the front. He finished 4th after starting on the pole. Eric Smith was P5 as Andrew Waring, the nearest to Challoner, still running here at the end. Lost a fair bit of points, but not a whole lot. He was able to get 6th place. Sam Harris, 7th. Jeff Schmeier, 25th to 8th. Great job there to the 30 car. Kevin Hill was 9th and Mark Stevenson 10th.
In 11th, it was Ryan Steele, followed by Ross Banfield and Brian Barnes. Kurt Comm was 14th, followed by Lynn Kinchlow in 15th. Jason Wallet in 16th with Rob Powers behind him. Travis Warling in 18th with Brian McGreevy and Nick Kuhn rounding out your top 20.
So Justin Kirby gets ranked 1 lap down. Trent Brown would have finished 16th place. However, he hit the number 7 of Kurt Crum right as he was crossing the finish line. That gave him a 4X. So Trent Brown was like 2 feet away from getting 16th place. As a result, though, he hits 40 incident points, finishes a lap down in 22nd. All the rest were drivers who were not able to make it to the finish.
First to the finish was the 98 of Matthew Thunhorst, and he was there with his Forge teammates today, really working together for much of the time. And as we pull him in here, Matt, congratulations on the win. It looked like you and the Forge guys certainly had a plan, because we were amazed at how long you went on that first stint.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's always kind of problematic with these caution kind of where you have a lot of them in a portion of a race is it has a real potential to mess the field up. And, despite the heat cycles and all that, our cars were still absolutely hauling there. And so we got to about lap 125 and we were like, yeah, we don't want to push any harder. And I knew Dallas and Christian were up there. And the only way that we were going to pass them or beat them is if we got to the front before they did. And so I know Justin and myself and Mark all topped up and we got out front first. And it was just, you're going to have to pass me if you want to win this. And so it's that last 50 or so laps. It's funny because it felt like kind of calling back to BRL and those guys. It almost felt like I had JR Shepard hounding me all that night, and felt like everything Christian was doing there at the end, it felt like I just had a mirror of JR there instead. So.
Yeah, I can understand that. But talk to us about that last restart. You knew it was going to be a one-lap shootout. Were you talking to Justin about when to go? Was there communication, and were you synced?
Yeah, I was trying to let him know the general area that I was going to go, and there at the end, I basically told him as soon as that pace car hits the flat, I'm going, and I didn't want to give Christian any sort of chance to even get up beside me or anything, and just because our car got a little tight there at the end, especially with the fact I think we had like 120 some laps on there, and I was pushing that brake bias as far back as I could. I think I was hitting the button and it wasn't going any farther, but those restarts were tough because I know going in shallow like that in one, I knew if Christian got a good run, it was over. So it definitely, I couldn't make a mistake. I was having to do everything to make sure I got the strong run off. It kind of reminds me of something I always remember you all saying over the years with the John Ulmer theory of getting off the corners. She may plow in the center, but as long as she hauls off, no one can get you. And that's all I was trying to make sure I could do. And that's the only way I was going to fend him off.
Well, that was impressive stuff. This puts you at 8 wins in your career in the majors, and 2 shy now of Cameron Dance. Is there anybody that helped make this possible for you today?
Yeah, just all the guys at Forge that gave me feedback and, helped me while I was working on the setup and all that. And, I really thought I was a good short track racer, and then running with BRL with Austin, JR, Justin, and them all over there every week. Definitely really kind of, hardened my metal, or essentially kind of pressurized the diamond essentially to where I really shone tonight. And that's just thanks to them, it's thanks to Mark to even bring me on in Forge in the first place. And, I got to visit Five Flags and actually walk the track a couple of weeks ago. So this place is really special to me. It's almost kind of like my track away from home. So love to visit the Snowball and see it in real life. But there's a lot of people to thank, and it's funny. My majors career started here, and it's going to probably be very likely that it's going to end here. So it's definitely nice to have this place shine as a special memory for me.
Oh, that is fantastic to hear. Definitely chokes me up a little bit, as that was our winner here today, Matthew Thunhorst. And I believe we've got second place with us, Christian Challenger. DJ is caught up with him.
Well, Christian, it seemed like an action-packed day for you there. Obviously, some early decisions to take some tires, putting you in the middle of some chaos, but you made it through and got onto the podium.
Yeah, I mean, towards the beginning of the race, the reason I kept coming down for tires and whatnot was really just to sort of feel out what the track was doing and see how hard it was going to be to pass when everybody kind of made their last stops. So, yeah, it was sort of just to have a bit of fun and learn a few things, I guess. And I mean, I did. There was a couple of incidents that happened. I mean, there was one which sort of knocked my right front off, but it didn't seem to really hurt it too much. And I wanted to save the fast repair because I kind of figured that if I took the fast repair too soon and then I got wrecked out, it would just absolutely decimate me in terms of points. So I kept that the whole time, but I don't think that really slowed me down at all in terms of the damage. But it was a bit surprising to pick that up. There was a late race incident, I would say, where I don't really know what the deal there was. I was underneath somebody and they just kept coming down the whole time. It happened a few times, and I mean I was totally there, and I don't really know what more to say on that. I thought thought it was pretty clear where I was trying to go, and wasn't really given any room no matter what. So, yeah, unfortunate anybody who got kind of caught up in that, but I was just sticking it on the bottom, and that's pretty much what I was doing. But yeah, towards the end, it was getting really, really difficult, especially to get by the Forge guys, because obviously they were kind of timing the restarts together and whatnot. I got pretty aggressive with those, I think, and I actually kind of got to give a shout out to Justin Morton, because I mean I was pinching him pretty bad on quite a few of those restarts. I knew it was my only way really to sort of make the top side work and get enough drive off to get clear of him. And yeah, with a really long green flag run, I think I probably could have pressured Matt a bit more. There was one moment where we've been green, I think for like 30 laps or something, and he was just starting to get really tight in the center of the corner, and I had a bit more rotation than he did, and it looked like it was getting worse and worse for him, and I was like, yeah, the chance is coming. And then right as I was about to try my first overlap maneuver, the yellow came out. So yeah, just really tough to pass, but it was pretty fun. I mean, I enjoyed having to keep passing cars and whatnot. I thought it was a good race.
I mean, it was certainly fun for us to watch up here, and you answered some of my questions to you, especially about that those late lap cautions, and if you thought you could maybe get something good on a long green run. But talk me through your mentality on that last restart. I mean, obviously we had seen how hard it was to be able to stay alongside starting in P2. Were you just trying to hold off Justin at that point, or were you still going for the win on that last green?
Oh, on the last one, I knew there was absolutely no chance that I was going to be able to get Matt. It was really just a case of trying to hold off Justin. To be honest, I feel like we could probably do with maybe looking at implementing a better restart solution, so there's a bit more of a restart box. At the moment, I kind of always feel like the line leader, especially at short tracks where you've got these really tight radius corners, the leader always has a pretty substantial advantage. I mean, when you're the top car, you either have to get very, very lucky in terms of timing it with the leader, or you basically have to have a rule that you sort of have a manual restart box to sort of get everybody on the front stretch. But, you know, with him going basically at pit entry, unless I jumped it, there was no real way that I was going to be able to challenge him. And it was pretty hard just to really hold Justin off when I was running the top there. So I pretty much knew there was going to be no chance of passing Matt on that last restart, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Well, Christian, obviously this is going to help extend your lead in the championship here a little bit. With only 2 rounds left to go, I got to ask you about the next one, and that is SCCA runoffs at Road Atlanta. How do you think that one's going to go?
I think that one will be pretty fun. I mean, what cars are we doing again? Are we doing MX-5 and Spec Racer Ford? I think something...
Yes, correct. That's right,
yeah. Okay, so... in that case, I'll probably go with the MX-5. I kind of like it a bit more than Spec Racer Ford, and you know, if there's an opportunity to drive the Miata, I can't really say no to that. So that's kind of my decision made right there. And yeah, I think that obviously there's a long straight really, and you can't really get away in those cars. It's quite a draft pack type race, so it'll probably be pretty hectic, I would say. I think it's one of those ones, if you do get away, you've got a pretty good chance of winning. It's just going to be hard to do that. So, yeah, it's going to be kind of similar to this, where it'll mainly be shooting for a top 5 and making sure I get to the end of the race, because I don't really have many drop weeks available, I don't think. I mean, in road courses, I think I do, actually. I think I've actually had a really good season in terms of road course racing, which is pretty cool, because normally I have 1 or 2 bad events. But in terms of the oval side of things, yeah, points was definitely a factor tonight. Obviously, pretty unfortunate this year to have 2 disconnects, both in oval races, and not pick up any real points there. So this has helped a lot. Still got Mategi to go though, so that's another opportunity to lose a lot of points. But yeah, I think we get through Road Atlanta okay. Yeah, it should be good.
Well, fantastic. I'm looking forward to both Motegi and Road Atlanta, Christian. But a stellar second place here. Anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody who organizes the league. I know I've been a little bit critical of maybe the scheduling and a couple other things this season, but you know, that felt like a good race. Everybody, for the most part, you know, there was incidents and there was yellows and whatnot, but it was a good race and the atmosphere was pretty cool. So I was glad to see that. I had a good time, and yeah, big shout out to Mike and everybody who's involved in organizing the league, because yeah, it's, you know, I've been critical, but those guys have taken on board what I've said, and yeah, this was a fun round.
Well, we loved it as well, Christian. That was Christian Challoner, your second place finisher here tonight and overall points leader as of now. And Sam, I believe you've caught up with our third place finisher, Justin Morton.
Yeah, Justin, you got a copy?
Yep.
All right, well, third place, how are you feeling about that? I know you're probably happy for the team, but I'm sure you would have liked to have made it 1-2.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to make it a 1-2 there. I went for on that last restart. I thought I had a small chance. I was pretty close side by side with Christian there, exiting 4, but fresher tires, he just had the better run. But third place is great for the team, so I'm all for that.
How much communication was there between yourself and Matthew in those closing restarts, with regards to telling you when he was going and all that?
Yeah, there was quite a lot of information being told for restarts. Definitely just trying to take advantage of that, being teams and lined up. Huge advantage, me being right behind Matt.
So going back to the first half of a race, obviously Ford seemed to stay out there a long time earlier on. You kind of formed a block at the front of end of the field, which was a smart decision, really. You know, it was able to box in the rest of the field behind you, stay out of trouble with your cars up front. But I must ask, how difficult were the restarts there on the old tires? We saw a few times where there was a little bit of drama on, and things got a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, one of those restarts, unfortunately James's wheel failed going into 3. That caused one of the big crashes. Sucks that it happened. Definitely no intention there, but later in the race I know I had a bad restart. I just lit the tires up, so you definitely had to be worried about the tires still. They didn't have infinite grip on old tires, and just had to watch that wheel spin and just try to be patient with your moves.
2 races left to go. I believe the next one is the runoffs at Road Atlanta. So what car are you going to be picking for that, Miata or the Spec Racer Ford? Remember, you were talking to a Miata owner.
I think, from what I've been told, we're running both cars in 2 races. I could be wrong. That's what I've been told. But I would definitely choose the Miata if I had the choice. I'm not a fan of driving the Spec Ford. I just haven't liked how it handled in the past. I know they just updated it, so it might be better. But I'm looking forward to running Road Atlanta. I love running there.
Yeah, I find the shifting, I think, is a little bit easier on the Spec Racer Ford now. But yeah, the handling's always been a bit of a question mark. And I guess I should ask before you go, anyone you'd like to thank, and what are your goals in the last couple of rounds? I'm assuming a couple of W's.
Oh yeah, of course, a couple. I would love to get a W. It would be my first in the majors. I finished 3rd. This is my third place finish, and of course, it was behind Christian both times. Looking forward to hopefully get a win, or at least a 2nd place. I'd like to thank Matt for the killer setup and all the work that he put into it. Brian for the amazing paint as always. Mark for putting this awesome team together. All the guys on the team also, down to Sportsman who helped with the setup. Rethread Co. for sponsoring us, the Major Series for putting all this together, and I thank you guys for doing the great broadcasting.
Okay, I lied. I did have one more question I wanted to ask you. Let's say you held Christian off. Final lap. Were you going for it on Matt?
I don't know if I had anything for Matt. I've been in that situation enough in other leagues, just being behind him in a short track, closing laps. I kind of knew I didn't have anything for him, so I was going for it anyway.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck next time out, and thanks for coming to talk to us.
Thank you.
And that was Justin Morton finishing 3rd today as our director pulls the microphone out of Sam's hand, and we head off to our closing for the night with another big thank you to the majors and a mention of the charity that they had this round. Of course, again, New Zealand Cancer Society. If you want to check them out, they are at cancer.org.nz. And a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more awesome work, including she just released a new song today. So I'm going to go give that a listen here pretty soon. Thanks to the team today, Sam, DJ, Zach, and Doug. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on the channel. The next race, as we mentioned, the SCCA runoffs at Road Atlanta. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if they've actually had the MX-5 or the Spec Racer actually show up in this series before. That'll be Sunday, October 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.